Chapter 193. That disciple looked to be in his early 20s. He had rather sharp features and was slightly more well-built than normal disciples. But at that instant he knelt at his stall with a melancholic expression. His large build was curled into a ball as he looked into the passing crowd sadly and helplessly. Yi Qingtang looked at the stall in front of that man, and her lips slightly tugged up after this look. The disciple was not selling any rare items but had some spirit crystals of varied sizes. Spirit crystal was a type of crystal which naturally stored spirit energy. Many veins occasionally produced it, and although not much was produced, it was not considered rare either. A spirit crystal was different from a spirit stone. The spirit energy in spirit stones could be absorbed and converted by humans, while the spirit energy in spirit crystals was completely combined with the crystal, and there was no way one could extract it for cultivation. Furthermore, because the spirit crystal contained spirit energy, there were many cotton fiber-looking crystalline shapes in the crystal body, which greatly affected the lustrousness and appearance of the spirit crystal. As a result, almost no one was interested in them. Spirit crystals were unable to replace the effects of spirit stones, and their appearances were even more incomparable. It could be said that spirit crystals had a worthless existence. This type of item should not appear in the sect since, after all, sect disciples were from renowned families and had extensive knowledge. Such useless items like spirit crystals simply would not attract the attention of any disciple, and there were some disciples who even laughed when they saw the spirit crystals. Which fool actually took this thing out? It would be weird if they could be sold. Regardless of the number of people walking past him, none of them stopped to look at his items. When compared to the stall selling elixirs beside him, his area was extremely empty. An herbal faction disciple who just sold 2 bottles of elixirs smiled as he looked at the Shenming points on his bracelet. He turned around and spoke to a despondent-looking disciple. Tong Hua, I told you long ago that no one wants these spirit crystals. Instead of sitting here foolishly, why not take on some missions to earn some Shenming points? After all, you're a fist faction disciple and selling spirit crystals is still too. The herbal faction disciple appeared to be well-meaning, but the sarcasm in his eyes revealed his real intentions. Tong Hua looked at him and gave a bitter laugh without saying anything. This herbal faction disciple and he entered the outer sect at the same time. He had a good physique, and his natural endowments were considered not bad in his batch. Rather, it was that herbal faction disciple who had an average natural endowment. However, it was different years later. Tong Hua did not put that herbal faction disciple's mockery to heart and only looked after his stall silently, waiting for that slim chance. This scene fell into Yi Qingtang's eyes, and the herbal faction disciple's mockery still lingered around her ears. The corner of her lips tugged upwards slightly as she walked towards Tong Hua's stall. How do you sell this spirit crystal? A clear female voice suddenly traveled into his ears, and the depressed Tong Hua looked up in surprise, only to be completely taken aback there and then. Against the sunlight, the young girl was so beautiful as though she was not a mortal on earth, while her smile seemed to be able to intoxicate someone. Chapter 194. Tong Hua was rather besotted from looking for a moment, and only after that girl waved her hands smilingly in front of his eyes did he finally return to his senses. He instinctively shivered as a blush crept onto his chiseled face. How could there be such a good-looking junior sister? Do you want to buy spirit crystals? Tong Hua had a rigid nature, and because he was tall and well-built on top of the fact that his strong facial features made him look fierce, there were rarely any female disciples who interacted with him. Now that he met such a pretty junior sister, he could not help but be tongue-tied. The herbal faction disciple nearby saw that shockingly beautiful girl as well, and his eyes glowed. Before waiting for Tong Hua to say anything, he immediately opened his mouth. This junior sister, spirit crystals are not spirit stones. Even if you buy it back, there will be no use for it. Don't get cheated, he said without caring that Tong Hua was right there. Yi Qingtang looked at the both of them with a smile and understood more or less. This senior brother, Tong Hua, had such a poor business partly due to the help from this herbal faction disciple, didn't he? Tong Hua's expression turned a little ugly after the herbal faction disciple said those words in his face. He was about to say something, but the herbal faction disciple spoke before him again. Tong Hua, this little junior sister seems to be quite young. You must not cheat her because of her young age." Then Tong Hua was really furious that his face flushed. When had he cheated anyone? He could not even say anything and was already called a cheater by this herbal faction disciple. He was enraged. The herbal faction disciple looked at Tong Hua's red face in delight and was not at all bothered. Disciples were not allowed to fight amongst themselves in the sect, and he was certain that Tong Hua would definitely not act recklessly. Moreover, he was sure from the start that while Tong Hua appeared rather fierce on the outside, he was a very honest man. The herbal faction disciples' words were to, firstly, embarrass Tong Hua and, secondly, establish some relations with this beautiful junior sister. However, "Senior brother Tong, is it? You haven't said how you're going to sell these spirit crystals," Yi Qingtang said to Tong Hua with a flower-like smile without bothering with the herbal faction's provocation. The fury in Tong Hua was extinguished by that crisp-sounding, "Senior brother Tong." He, who was not good at conversing with people of the opposite sex, looked at Yi Qingtang before him and panicked a little. "This spirit crystal is sold at 1 Xianming point for 1 crystal. If you like them, 2 Xianming points for 3 crystals is fine as well." Tong Hua said this one sentence with many stumbles, and his voice became softer as he spoke on. 1 Xianming point was really a low price. While this spirit crystal was useless, it was worth more than this price. According to normal calculations, it should be 2 to 3 Xianming points for 1 crystal no matter what. The price that Tong Hua set surprised Yi Qingtang slightly. The herbal faction disciple saw that Yi Qingtang did not reply immediately and mocked. "Tong Hua, this spirit crystal is simply a useless piece of rubbish. Isn't it too big of a rip-off to sell it for 1 Xianming point?" Tong Hua hurriedly waved his hands as though Tong Hua was afraid that Yi Qingtang believed the other party's words and misunderstood him. "I am not ripping off from her." However, Yi Qingtang replied with a grin. "How many spirit crystals does senior brother Tong have?" Tong Hua was a little confused as to what this junior sister asked it for but still said honestly, "About 70 to 80 plus. Chapter 195. Yi Qingtang calculated mentally and immediately smiled. "I want all of them." Right after Yi Qingtang spoke, Tong Hua was dumbfounded, and even the herbal faction disciple who had been mocking Tong Hua felt his jaw drop from the shock. She wants all 70 to 80 of them? Is this little junior sister crazy? Tong Hua was stunned for quite a while and suspected whether he heard wrongly. He could not help but confirm again. Little junior sister, how many did you say you wanted?" Yi Qingtang's smile remained as she said, "All." Tong Hua was really shocked. He got these spirit crystals half a year ago, and after selling for a whole 6 months, he only sold 2 or 3 pieces. Never would he dream that someone would actually buy all of his spirit crystals at one go, and it was someone who seemed to be a newly entered disciple. Are you sure? But these spirit crystals really do not have many uses." Tong Hua hoped to quickly get rid of these hot potatoes, but when he saw this pretty junior sister bravely saying that she wanted to buy all the spirit crystals, Tong Hua did not dare to sell them instead. He was afraid he would really rip off this little junior sister. If you really like it, I'll just gift you 2 of them then." "It is better if you don't buy them," Tong Hua said as he scratched his head. Yi Qingtang was tickled by Tong Hua's frank response. This senior brother was really an honest man. "Senior brother, I am not joking with you. I want all of the spirit crystals. Let's just go with the price you said just now, 1 Xianming point for 2 crystals, Yi Qingtang said generously. From aside, the expression which the herbal faction disciple used to look at Yi Qingtang was as though he was looking at a lunatic. Why was it that this junior sister was born with such a pretty face but did not have any brains? Even if the price was 1 Xianming point for 2 spirit crystals, she would still need 30 to 40 Xianming points, and spending this amount on 2 bottles of she spirit pills was more worth it. Tong Hua did not know what to do with Yi Qingtang's stubbornness and was troubled over it but suddenly saw a familiar person walking in his direction. He hurriedly stood up and shouted, "Junior brother Qin." Qin Huan, who was strolling leisurely in the dragon court, suddenly heard a shout, and when he looked over he saw a tall and muscular Tong Hua waving at him frantically. "Senior brother Tong? What happened to you?" Qin Huan walked over brightly and could not help but laugh when he took a look at Tong Hua's stall. Senior brother Qin, you haven't sold this batch of spirit crystals which you got cheated to accept that time? I think it is better to find a fool quickly and sell them off cheaply. Junior brother Qin, stop talking already. Help me here. This person wants to buy all of my spirit crystals at one go. Hurry. Persuade her not to do it. Tong Hua knew that he was not good at talking to people of the opposite sex, so he might as well pull Qin Huan, who was good at flirting with girls, to help him out. Upon hearing Tong Hua, Qin Huan could not help but laugh as he turned to look at the person who Tong Hua spoke about. There is really a fool who wants to buy these rotten. The moment Qin Huan turned around, he was met with a pair of smiling eyes, and his words were immediately stuck in his throat before he finished his sentence. Yi Qingtang folded her arms and looked at Qin Huan with a beam as a dangerous glint emerged in her eyes. She said casually, "So I'm actually a fool in senior brother Qin's eyes." Chapter 196. Qin Huan's lips twitched as he looked at Yi Qingtang, and his head was about to explode. Shit. Tong Hua, this scoundrel screwed him. So it's junior sister Yi. Ha. What a coincidence, Qin Huan said as he broke out in a cold sweat. How he wished he could hang Tong Hua, who called him over, on a tree and hammer him. Yi Qingtang raised a brow slightly and swept a meaningful look at Qin Huan. Qin Huan only felt a gush of cold air behind his back, and the smile on his face broke into pieces. Tong Hua looked strangely at the frozen Qin Huan and had not sensed that Qin Huan became strange suddenly as he asked curiously, "Junior brother Qin, do you know this little junior sister?" Qin Huan put on a smile that was uglier than a cry and nodded tragically. "She is junior sister. Why would I not know her? Was it too late for him to leave now?" Tong Hua nodded slowly and did not notice Qin Huan's expression, which read, "I want to die right now," and said uprightly, "That's good then. Qin Huan, help me persuade this junior sister. There is not much use if she buys these spirit crystals back. If she likes them, it's fine for me to gift some to her. These Xianming points cannot be anyhow spent, especially new disciples." Tong Hua persuaded earnestly. If not for the fact that Qin Huan could not defeat Tong Hua, he really wanted to box this fool to death. New disciples' Xianming points could not be anyhow spent? That applied to others but not Yi Qingtang, who was a tycoon. He personally witnessed Yi Qingtang cheerfully taking the head of a villain on the assassination roll to claim her reward after receiving over 60 Xianming points from the giant lizard mission. Qin Huan really wanted to tell Tong Hua that he was worried for the wrong person and that the number of Xianming points in Yi Qingtang's hands was more than both of theirs added together. However, a wise man would submit to the circumstances. Qin Huan simply did not bother about Tong Hua's persuasion and looked straight at Yi Qingtang. "Junior sister Yi likes this spirit crystal? You should have said earlier. I have known senior brother Tong for a long time, and I can let him sell them at a cheaper price. I see that there's quite a number of spirit crystals. How about I help you to carry them back?" Qin Huan smiled in an extremely suck-up manner. After personally witnessing Yi Qingtang's powers, he did not dare to offend such a fierce junior sister. Furthermore, Yi Qingtang's fire-resistant soft armor even saved his life. Who knew how many more treasures this little junior sister had? He really had to sweet-talk her and offer his assistance the best he could. Tong Hua was dumbfounded. He clearly got Qin Huan over to persuade Yi Qingtang. Why did he suddenly betray him? Yi Qingtang chuckled at the suck-up Qin Huan and said, "Senior brother Qin's price is very low already, and it doesn't need to be lowered further. However, if senior brother Qin is free, I can approve your request to help me move my things." Tong Hua already said previously that if Yi Qingtang wanted, he could sell 2 spirit crystals at 1 Xianming point. This price was already shockingly low, and Yi Qingtang was not the type to squeeze money out of others. No matter what, she would not go overboard. "No problem. Leave it to me." Qin Huan did not care that his manly image was broken at that very point. His suck-up behavior completely confused Tong Hua. "Senior brother Tong, pack the spirit crystals. They'll carry them back for junior sister Yi," Qin Huan said. Tong Hua was really on the verge of tears. Why did the help that he found turn to help Yi Qingtang in urging him instead? Chapter 197. With the betrayal of his ally, Tong Hua could only pack the spirit crystals with a sad face. Just by seeing his expression, those who did not know would think that he was robbed. Yi Qingtang nimbly transferred the corresponding 30-plus Xianming points to Tong Hua. While Tong Hua got rid of these burning potatoes, he felt extremely guilty towards Yi Qingtang, who got ripped off. Junior Sister Yi, if there's anything you need help with in the future, just go ahead and ask me. Thank you so much for today, Tong Hua said to Yi Qingtang earnestly. Yi Qingtang kept feeling as though she was taken advantage of, but the person who was taken advantage of was clearly Tong Hua. If one was overly honest and good-natured, others would feel quite helpless as well. Tong Hua stammered a while more to Yi Qingtang and then finally packed up his items and returned to the fist faction for practice. On the other hand, Qin Huan, who was called over halfway, had no choice but to pay a price for his big mouth. Carrying 70 to 80-plus spirit crystals, Qin Huan grinned at Yi Qingtang and said, "Junior Sister Yi, are you returning now?" Yi Qingtang turned around and walked out of the dragon court without forgetting to signal Qin Huan behind her with a finger. Qin Huan followed up quickly. "Junior Sister Yi, what are you buying so many spirit crystals for?" Qin Huan asked carefully, deeply afraid that what he said previously had offended Yi Qingtang. Gu Yanxiu was still waiting for Yi Qingtang to form a team with them to go on missions, and if Yi Qingtang complained to Gu Yanxiu, Qin Huan predicted that Gu Yanxiu would kick him out of the team in order to protect Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang replied, "Obviously because there's a use." Qin Huan remained silent. "You have many Xianming points, so you can spend lavishly." Yi Qingtang thought of something and asked, "Senior brother Qin, do you know who else has spirit crystals?" Qin Huan was dumbfounded. She bought so many already, but it still was not enough? She still wants to buy more spirit crystals? Is she crazy? However, he was not bold enough to say this in Yi Qingtang's face. "I'm afraid, there isn't really anyone who has them. Spirit crystals are rare and not easy to find usually. Although veins produce them, it is extremely rare. Furthermore, no one required them, and thus, this item was even rarer. Those that Tong Hua had were ones that he was being cheated to accept. Otherwise, no one would have so many spirit crystals for no reason. One must know that it was already amazing when a vein produced at most 1 or 2 crystals." Qin Huan mumbled. "Cheated?" Yi Qingtang stopped in her tracks. She knew how useless spirit crystals were to humans as well, and thus was extremely happy when she saw them in Tong Hua's hands. Currently, no one knew the importance of spirit crystals yet, but in a few months later, a divine weapon would appear on Earth. That divine weapon was owned by a mighty figure, and its appearance caused a commotion. As rumors of the divine weapon's sharpness circulated, its origins were gradually dug out by people. That was a weapon with spirit crystals embedded in it and was forged by a blacksmith who hid away from the world for many years. The spirit energy in spirit crystals could not be absorbed by people, thus, humans saw them as useless items. However, that blacksmith discovered another use for the spirit crystals: to forge divine weapons. With the craft of a blacksmith, embedding spirit crystals into a weapon could increase the weapon's strength by a large extent. Once this news was spread, it could be said that the whole world was shaken as suddenly, spirit crystals, which no one asked about before, suddenly became a popular treasure. All family clans and powerful groups went to great lengths to search for spirit crystals and invited famous blacksmiths to forge the weapons. Chapter 198. And because of this, the blacksmith's reputation skyrocketed, and weapons forged with spirit crystals were crowned as spirit weapons. Yi Qingtang lost her spirit root in her previous life and once thought of using the power of a spirit weapon to counter enemies. Thus, she took a blacksmith as a teacher that time as well, where she hid from people and learned the craft at the same time. She was very clear that the current weapons were simply not on the same level as the future spirit weapons. If she could collect more spirit crystals before that mighty figure took out the first spirit weapon, it would definitely be of great help to her in the future. One must know that once spirit weapons exploded in popularity, all the spirit crystals on Earth were almost snatched away immediately by all the forces, and every crystal in the future could be sold at sky-high prices. Yi Qingtang did not expect that she would see so many spirit crystals in the Dragon Court, and since she saw them, she would definitely not pass them by and got them all decisively. However, Yi Qingtang was rather curious as to why Tong Hua had so many spirit crystals. When she mentioned this, Qin Huan could not help but tug his lips upwards. Isn't it all because that nincompoop is foolish? Half a year ago, he went out on a rewarded mission with a few senior brothers in the outer sect. Don't look at how upright senior brother Tong is, he could even crumble a huge boulder into pieces if he threw out a punch. He put in a lot of effort in missions, and it could be said that he was highly connected to the completion of missions. Logically, he would be distributed the most basic amount of Xianming points. However, those disciples on the mission with him took advantage of his good nature. All of them said they badly needed Xianming points and found an excuse to swallow the share that senior brother Tong should have. They even made it sound nice that they were not taking his share for nothing and auctioned these spirit crystals for him in an auction house near their mission location as a compensation. Qin Huan became increasingly angry as he spoke. He had known Tong Hua for a long time already, and when he knew about this incident that time, he almost got into a fight with those bastards to help Tong Hua. Yi Qingtang could not believe what she heard. She did feel that Tong Hua was very honest, but this was too innocent. Suddenly, Yi Qingtang felt that senior brother Yun's goodman image was not that hard to accept after comparing him to Tong Hua. If you really want spirit crystals, you can take a look at the auction houses nearby, Qin Huan said casually, though he did not know what Yi Qingtang wanted spirit crystals for. Yi Qingtang had a plan as well and sympathized with the overly honest Tong Hua a little. Qin Huan followed Yi Qingtang and brought the bag of spirit crystals back to her room. Just when they returned to the room, they saw Su Wan, who was about to leave the room. Su Wan's expression changed a little when she saw Yi Qingtang, but when she saw Qin Huan behind her, she could not help but narrow her eyes, though she left without saying anything. "Where do I place this?" Qin Huan asked while carrying the spirit crystals when he entered the room. But when he said this, he suddenly realized that he seemed to be glared at by a pair of sharp eyes. His eyes followed the direction of that feeling and suddenly saw that silver wolf which was lying on Yi Qingtang's bed was staring at him with an extremely dangerous expression. Qin Huan had goosebumps all over from the silver wolf's glare, and he did not know why, but he felt that if he stayed any longer, something ominous would happen. Right after he placed down the bag, he quickly found an excuse and escaped. Chapter 199-1. Qin Huan ran so quickly as though someone was after his life. Yi Qingtang could not help but find that scene funny. She thought that Qin Huan was worried that she would settle scores with him and did not notice that the murderous expression in the silver wolf's eyes faded after Qin Huan's departure. "Haha, little baby. I got many good things today." Yi Qingtang went up to the silver wolf and grinned at it as when she saw that the room was empty. The silver wolf quietly looked at Yi Qingtang's salivating expression with a very complicated expression. "I have not given you a massage today. Now is just nice." Yi Qingtang did not care whether her silver wolf could understand or not as she rolled up her sleeves and aimed at its furry body with her fingers. Once the silver wolf heard the word massage, its body froze, and before it could react, a pair of dishonest hands stroked its body familiarly. As though she felt the wolf's frozen body, Yi Qingtang comforted it gently. "Don't worry, baby. I will be very gentle." The silver wolf looked at the besotted Yi Qingtang speechlessly and lay down with a resigned expression, letting her trample it as she wished. Yi Qingtang was caressing the wolf delightedly but did not know that Su Wan, who went out previously, went to look for Yun Shu. She exaggeratedly told that Yi Qingtang and Qin Huan entered and left the room together, and that Yi Qingtang was too busy getting close with other senior brothers and probably had no time to meet Yun Shu. Yun Shu did not say anything though. Because Yi Qingtang had the silver wolf, she hurriedly returned to massage the wolf after cultivation every day and did not have many interactions with Yun Shu. Days passed. In the blink of an eye, it had been a month since the new disciples entered the sect. In this 1 month, all the new disciples familiarized themselves with everything in Xianling sect's outer sect and were on the right track in their cultivation. And once this first month was over, the new disciples were to welcome a new challenge. Sect-appointed missions. This was a mission that every sect disciple had to complete, and the contents of the mission were appointed by the outer sect warden. This day, all the new disciples were summoned. The teaching warden stood in front of them with many files in his hand. Today, the sect will appoint a mission to every one of you. Regardless of a solo or a team mission with other disciples, all of you must place the sect's glory as the main priority when you are out handling matters. If you do anything which damages the sect's reputation, you will be punished according to the sect rules, said the teaching warden coldly. Everyone nodded. Then, the warden handed down the missions. While these disciples were to begin on sect missions, they did not have enough experience after all. Apart from Yi Qingtang, who completed a rewarded mission half a month ago, most had not come into contact with such missions. Thus, most of the missions were still relatively easy. Yun Shu only exchanged a few words with Yi Qingtang in the past few weeks and finally met her then. "How are you recently, junior sister Yi?" Yun Shu asked with a smile. Yi Qingtang had a handsome wolf to accompany her these few days, and her days were spent comfortably at ease. The fatigue from a whole day of cultivation would instantly vanish every time she stroked the wolf in the name of massaging it. "Everything is good. I wonder what senior brother Yun thinks of this appointed mission?" Yi Qingtang asked smilingly. Although she was not overly close to Yun Shu these days, she was always paying attention to any news regarding Yun Shu. She did not forget her plan to investigate the truth behind Yun Shu's fall in the past life. Chapter 199 to 2. Sect Mission 2. I did ask around about it previously. Yun Shu obviously paid attention to the sect mission matters previously. A month after the new disciples entered the sect, they would have to take on their first sect mission. These kind of missions for the new disciple were relatively easy and were basically completed in groups. Just as Yun Shu and Yi Qingtang were talking, Su Wan, who was standing a few steps away from Yun Shu, had a dark expression. She glared right at the both of them, and a deathly cold air seemed to be hidden in her seemingly gentle eyes. Su Wan originally wanted to use the opportunity to become closer to Yun Shu, but she did not expect that before she walked to Yun Shu's side, Yi Qingtang would already be talking to Yun Shu. Looking at their intimate behavior, Su Wan's heart was as though it was chopped into pieces by a knife. Senior brother Yun's eyes were glued on Yi Qingtang. Su Wan was clearly standing behind senior brother Yun, but he did not even realize she was here. On what basis? Su Wan quietly clenched her fist tightly and looked at Yi Qingtang's exquisite side profile, wishing that she could slash Yi Qingtang's face with a knife. She clearly tried all sorts of means for Yun Shu and Yi Qingtang to not interact with each other in this period of time. She clearly told Yun Shu many bad things about Yi Qingtang, and she never even mentioned to Yi Qingtang that Yun Shu wanted her to find him. But why was Yun Shu acting as if nothing happened? Hatred and resentment filled Su Wan's eyes. And it was at this instant when the teaching warden assigned the missions to the disciples. This is your first time accepting a sect mission. To ensure that you all can complete it successfully, I will appoint the more skilled people as the mission's team leader. Then, the warden looked at the files in his hands and called out a few names. Yun Shu and Lu Xiuwen were the most skilled amongst the new disciples and were obviously in the list of names called out. Apart from the two of them, the warden called out another 4 people and handed down the missions that they had to take on. After looking at the mission, these disciples could freely choose the other members to embark on the mission with. These 6 people were the most skilled amongst their batch of new disciples, and the difference between the disciples' skills could be seen from here. The 6 people who were called out took a step forward and stood within everyone's line of sight. Junior sister Su, senior brother Yun is also a leader for a mission. I think he will definitely choose you. Lu Yu, who was standing beside Su Wan, looked at the glorious Yun Shu as she beamed at Su Wan, who wore a gloomy expression. Su Wan returned to her senses and quickly hid away the resentment in her eyes as she smiled gently. Who knows who senior brother Yun will choose? Just now, junior sister Yi was talking to senior brother Yun, and perhaps she had already told him about this. After hearing, Lu Yu looked at Yi Qingtang with a face of disdain. What a vixen! I heard that after she returned from the rewarded mission the other time, she did not interact much with senior brother Yun. Yet now, she is acting chummy with him. Isn't it all because she knows that she must take on a sect mission already and wants to cozy up to senior brother Yun? Junior sister Su, you have been on such good terms with senior brother Yun recently, and Yi Qingtang cannot compete against this. There are so many rumors in the outer sect about you and senior brother Yun now. I can see that senior brother Yun treats you pretty well, and he will definitely not be bewitched by that vixen Yi Qingtang. Su Wan could not help but smile shyly when she heard that. Indeed, many disciples were talking about the relationship between her and Yun Shu in this half a month. Chapter 199-3. Sect Mission 3. Both Su Wan and Yi Qingtang were close to Yun Shu, but there was a huge difference between them. While Su Wan was also a new disciple, she was far above Yi Qingtang, regardless of her family background or the grade of her spirit root. Although Yi Qingtang was superior in terms of appearance, the feeling that they gave people were completely different. In the eyes of others, there was nothing good about Yi Qingtang other than her face, and they felt that her relationship with Yun Shu was all Yi Qingtang's one-sided wishful thinking. Rather, they felt that Su Wan was more compatible with Yun Shu. Lu Yu uttered words of support for Su Wan as she made a plan for herself as well. Yun Shu's skills were good, and if she could work on a mission together with Yun Shu using Su Wan's relationship with him, Lu Yu believed that her score in the mission would be higher. Senior sister Lu, these are merely our guesses. It is still up to senior brother Yun to choose, Su Wan said gently. According to the rules, Yun Shu and the others were to pick their team members in order of the rank of their spirit roots. Brother Yun, which candidate do you have in mind this time? Lu Xiuan asked Yun Shu while raising a brow. Yun Shu gave a faint smile. It is all our first time participating in a sect mission. I'm not very certain as well. Lu Xiuan laughed. Brother Yun, you're too humble. Didn't you take extra care of junior sister Yi previously? Though I rarely see you and junior sister Yi interacting after entering the sect. Not many people knew that Yi Qingtang took on a rewarded mission. Among the new disciples, only Su Wan and Yun Shu knew, but they did not tell anyone else about it. Furthermore, the new disciples were too busy familiarizing themselves with matters in the outer sect over the past half a month and never noticed Yi Qingtang's disappearance. The only thing that everyone knew was that Yun Shu did not really interact with Yi Qingtang in this month and that the person who was always by his side was Su Wan instead. Thus, many snickered that Yi Qingtang did not manage to cozy up to Yun Shu. Yun Shu obviously understood the meaning behind Lu Ziyuan's words and frowned slightly. You can start selecting your team members already, the warden said. Yun Shu looked away and towards the new disciples. If there were no accidents, senior and junior brothers with yellow spirit roots would be the first to be selected. Yun Shu was still thinking of who to pick but saw Su Wan looking at him expectantly. As he thought of how Su Wan cared for him in these few days, Yun Shu, who had a kind heart, could not bear to reject her. Junior sister Su. Yun Shu slowly announced the name of his first teammate. As Yun Shu spoke, Su Wan could not help but smile. Under everyone's gaze, she slowly walked up while looking at Yi Qingtang from the corner of her eye with a sarcastic expression. Yi Qingtang, no matter how good you are, the inferiority of your spirit root will not be changed. Su Wan went forward and stood behind Yun Shu, and this started discussions among many people. Everyone knew that Yun Shu only had many interactions with Yi Qingtang and Su Wan in the outer sect. Moreover, many noticed Su Wan's affection for Yun Shu. Now that Yun Shu chose Su Wan as his team member, wouldn't Yi Qingtang be abandoned then? In a moment, everyone looked at the leisurely Yi Qingtang with a nosy expression. If a useless red spirit root did not have Yun Shu's protection, which group would want her? Yi Qingtang stood calmly and did not take any of those bad-meaning gazes around her to heart. This type of mission for new disciples was of no difficulty to her regardless of which group she joined, and thus, she saw no point in worrying. Chapter 200. I did ask around about it previously. Yun Shu obviously paid attention to the sect mission matters previously. A month after the new disciples entered the sect, they would have to take on their first sect mission. These kind of missions for the new disciple were relatively easy and were basically completed in groups. Just as Yun Shu and Yi Qingtang were talking, Su Wan, who was standing a few steps away from Yun Shu, had a dark expression. She glared right at the both of them, and a deathly cold air seemed to be hidden in her seemingly gentle eyes. Su Wan originally wanted to use the opportunity to become closer to Yun Shu, but she did not expect that before she walked to Yun Shu's side, Yi Qingtang would already be talking to Yun Shu. Looking at their intimate behavior, Su Wan's heart was as though it was chopped into pieces by a knife. Senior brother Yun's eyes were glued on Yi Qingtang. Su Wan was clearly standing behind senior brother Yun, but he did not even realize she was here. On what basis? Su Wan quietly clenched her fist tightly and looked at Yi Qingtang's exquisite side profile, wishing that she could slash Yi Qingtang's face with a knife. She clearly tried all sorts of means for Yun Shu and Yi Qingtang to not interact with each other in this period of time. She clearly told Yun Shu many bad things about Yi Qingtang, and she never even mentioned to Yi Qingtang that Yun Shu wanted her to find him. But why was Yun Shu acting as if nothing happened? Hatred and resentment filled Su Wan's eyes. And it was at this instant when the teaching warden assigned the missions to the disciples. This is your first time accepting a sect mission. To ensure that you all can complete it successfully, I will appoint the more skilled people as the mission's team leader. Then, the warden looked at the files in his hands and called out a few names. Yun Shu and Lu Xiuwen were the most skilled amongst the new disciples and were obviously in the list of names called out. Apart from the two of them, the warden called out another 4 people and handed down the missions that they had to take on. After looking at the mission, these disciples could freely choose the other members to embark on the mission with. These 6 people were the most skilled amongst their batch of new disciples, and the difference between the disciples' skills could be seen from here. The 6 people who were called out took a step forward and stood within everyone's line of sight. Junior sister Su, senior brother Yun is also a leader for a mission. I think he will definitely choose you. Lu Yu, who was standing beside Su Wan, looked at the glorious Yun Shu as she beamed at Su Wan, who wore a gloomy expression. Su Wan returned to her senses and quickly hid away the resentment in her eyes as she smiled gently. Who knows who senior brother Yun will choose? Just now, junior sister Yi was talking to senior brother Yun, and perhaps she had already told him about this. After hearing, Lu Yu looked at Yi Qingtang with a face of disdain. What a vixen! I heard that after she returned from the rewarded mission the other time, she did not interact much with senior brother Yun. Yet now, she is acting chummy with him. Isn't it all because she knows that she must take on a sect mission already and wants to cozy up to senior brother Yun? Junior sister Su, you have been on such good terms with senior brother Yun recently, and Yi Qingtang cannot compete against this. There are so many rumors in the outer sect about you and senior brother Yun now. I can see that senior brother Yun treats you pretty well, and he will definitely not be bewitched by that vixen Yi Qingtang. Su Wan could not help but smile shyly when she heard that. Indeed, many disciples were talking about the relationship between her and Yun Shu in this half a month. Chapter 201. Both Su Wan and Yi Qingtang were close to Yun Shu, but there was a huge difference between them. While Su Wan was also a new disciple, she was far above Yi Qingtang, regardless of her family background or the grade of her spirit root. Although Yi Qingtang was superior in terms of appearance, the feeling that they gave people were completely different. In the eyes of others, there was nothing good about Yi Qingtang other than her face, and they felt that her relationship with Yun Shu was all Yi Qingtang's one-sided wishful thinking. Rather, they felt that Su Wan was more compatible with Yun Shu. Lu Yu uttered words of support for Su Wan as she made a plan for herself as well. Yun Shu's skills were good, and if she could work on a mission together with Yun Shu using Su Wan's relationship with him, Lu Yu believed that her score in the mission would be higher. Senior sister Lu, these are merely our guesses. It is still up to senior brother Yun to choose, Su Wan said gently. According to the rules, Yun Shu and the others were to pick their team members in order of the rank of their spirit roots. Brother Yun, which candidate do you have in mind this time? Lu Xiuwen asked Yun Shu while raising a brow. Yun Shu gave a faint smile. It is all our first time participating in a sect mission. I'm not very certain as well. Lu Xiuwen laughed. Brother Yun, you're too humble. Didn't you take extra care of junior sister Yi previously? Though I rarely see you and junior sister Yi interacting after entering the sect. Not many people knew that Yi Qingtang took on a rewarded mission. Among the new disciples, only Su Wan and Yun Shu knew, but they did not tell anyone else about it. Furthermore, the new disciples were too busy familiarizing themselves with matters in the outer sect over the past half a month and never noticed Yi Qingtang's disappearance. The only thing that everyone knew was that Yun Shu did not really interact with Yi Qingtang in this month and that the person who was always by his side was Su Wan instead. Thus, many snickered that Yi Qingtang did not manage to cozy up to Yun Shu. Yun Shu obviously understood the meaning behind Lu Ziyuan's words and frowned slightly. "You can start selecting your team members already," the warden said. Yun Shu looked away and towards the new disciples. If there were no accidents, senior and junior brothers with yellow spirit roots would be the first to be selected. Yun Shu was still thinking of who to pick but saw Su Wan looking at him expectantly. As he thought of how Su Wan cared for him in these few days, Yun Shu, who had a kind heart, could not bear to reject her. "Junior sister Su." Yun Shu slowly announced the name of his first teammate. As Yun Shu spoke, Su Wan could not help but smile. Under everyone's gaze, she slowly walked up while looking at Yi Qingtang from the corner of her eye with a sarcastic expression. "Yi Qingtang, no matter how good you are, the inferiority of your spirit root will not be changed." Su Wan went forward and stood behind Yun Shu, and this started discussions among many people. Everyone knew that Yun Shu only had many interactions with Yi Qingtang and Su Wan in the outer sect. Moreover, many noticed Su Wan's affection for Yun Shu. Now that Yun Shu chose Su Wan as his team member, wouldn't Yi Qingtang be abandoned then? In a moment, everyone looked at the leisurely Yi Qingtang with a nosy expression. If a useless red spirit root did not have Yun Shu's protection, which group would want her? Yi Qingtang stood calmly and did not take any of those bad-meaning gazes around her to heart. This type of mission for new disciples was of no difficulty to her regardless of which group she joined, and thus, she saw no point in worrying. Chapter 202. As the disciples were being called up one by one, the teammates behind Yun Shu and the others were gradually fixed. At last, only Yi Qingtang was left. Yun Shu also specifically left a spot where he planned to invite Yi Qingtang to join at the end. However, just when Yun Shu was about to open his mouth, the warden suddenly looked at Yi Qingtang and said, "Yi Qingtang, there are other arrangements for your sect mission." The warden's words instantly caused a commotion. Yun Shu, who was about to say something, was stunned as well, while Su Wan could not help but break out into an arrogant smile. She could see that Yun Shu wanted to invite Yi Qingtang, but the warden did not even plan to place Yi Qingtang in this mission. Thinking about it, it was true as well. With such an inferior spirit root, which team would she not be a burden in? Yi Qingtang raised a brow slightly. She did not expect that there would be such a thing. Just as everyone was curious as to what other arrangements Yi Qingtang had, the warden waved a hand at an area not far away. Then, a tall and good-looking young disciple slowly walked out and appeared in front of everyone. Once everyone saw that disciple's face, they were all astonished. His face actually looked a little similar to Zhou Chu, the person who set up an arena to cheat them. "Yi Qingtang, you will do your sect mission with Zhou Xian over here. Zhou Xian will personally tell you about the mission contents later," the warden said without expression. Zhou Xian walked forward, and his lips formed into a smile as he looked at the beautiful girl before him. "Junior sister Yi, it's our first meeting. Please take care of me." Zhou Xian's appearance left many new disciples dumbfounded. What is going on? Yi Qingtang's first sect mission is actually with an old disciple? It should be known that the first sect mission was relatively easier, but missions that Zhou Xian, an old disciple, took on had many hidden dangers. Surprise flashed across Su Wan's eyes as well, but once she saw Zhou Xian's face, an evil thought appeared in her mind. Zhou Xian, Zhou Chu. These two people's faces were so similar, could it be that? The surprise in her eyes instantly turned into a gloat. Everyone still remembered how Yi Qingtang beat Zhou Chu up on the arena the other time. Yi Qingtang raised her brows slightly as she looked at Zhou Xian before her. She sneered in her heart. Isn't this Zhou Xian the older brother of Zhou Chu? She was initially curious as to why her mission was suddenly changed but did not think that someone was actually behind all of this. Looking at the devious-looking Zhou Xian, Yi Qingtang already guessed that Zhou Xian most likely bribed the warden in secret, which caused things to become the way they were right now. "Senior brother Zhou, That's too polite of you, Yi Qingtang said calmly with a faint smile. Zhou Xian sized up Yi Qingtang with a scoff in his heart. Exactly like what Yi Qingtang guessed, he already knew long ago that the new disciples would take on sect missions after entering the sect for a month. Yi Qingtang's teaching warden once taught Zhou Xian as well, and thus, Zhou Xian used this opportunity to change Yi Qingtang's mission. Disciples were forbidden from fighting amongst themselves in the sect. But if they left the sect, things would be different. If there were some injuries sustained in the mission, would they not be considered natural? Chapter 203. Zhou Xian looked at Yi Qingtang with a smile. There seemed to not be any evil intentions on his face, but there was a vicious look in his smiling eyes. He leaned forward slightly and whispered into Yi Qingtang's ears. Previously, junior sister Yi received 3 moves from my brother, Zhou Chu, on the arena, and I thought that you must be very skilled. Wouldn't it be a pity if you went on normal missions? This time, I hope that junior sister Yi will really put your best performance in the mission. Zhou Xian smiled very kindly, but every word he said emitted a frightening sense of danger. Yi Qingtang scoffed in her heard, though she did not show any expressions on her face. Please take care of me, senior brother Zhou. Zhou Xian laughed. Of course. Then he stood straight and said, I still have some matters to settle. I will take a leave first. Then, Zhou Xian turned around and left after bidding the warden goodbye. From the start to the end, Zhou Xian did not mention anything regarding the mission to Yi Qingtang. All the missions were fixed, and each team needed to discuss the contents of the mission by themselves. Yun Shu was originally worried about Yi Qingtang and wanted to check on her but was held back by Su Wan, who used the reason that they had to discuss the mission. Yi Qingtang smiled faintly as she looked at how everyone was gathered together. Then she left and mentally prepared for Zhou Xian's accident. But before Yi Qingtang returned to her room, she saw Qin Huan standing outside the dorm with an anxious expression. The moment Qin Huan saw Yi Qingtang, he hurriedly ran up to her. Junior sister Yi, there's something I need to tell you. Be careful these few days, someone wants to harm you. Qin Huan said hurriedly. Yi Qingtang replied, Are you talking about Zhou Xian? Qin Huan was taken aback. How do you know? That Zhou Xian is Zhou Chu's older brother. He might already know that you injured Zhou Chu the other time. When I was taking on a mission earlier, I heard that Zhou Xian seemed to have looked for your teaching warden to add you into his sect mission. You must be careful. Zhou Xian is not like Zhou Chu. He is extremely insidious. Yi Qingtang laughed. He has already looked for me, and the warden had placed me in his team as well. In a few days, I will have to go on a mission together with him. Qin Huan was stunned when he heard Yi Qingtang. His expression changed and he muttered a curse. I knew that bastard Zhou Xian was sinister. I didn't think that he would take action so quickly. You must be more careful. Zhou Xian has many means and tricks. He does not dare to do anything to you in the sect, but using this mission he will definitely not let you off easily. I think, how about you find an excuse to reject this mission? Qin Huan could not help but be worried about Yi Qingtang. In the outer sect, Zhou Xian's abilities were not considered weak. Although Qin Huan knew that Yi Qingtang was skilled, it was still too much danger for Yi Qingtang to go on a mission together with such an insidious person like Zhou Xian. How can a sect mission be rejected? Yi Qingtang replied. Qin Huan's shoulders slumped down immediately. Sect missions were missions that must be done. After being appointed a sect mission, one must proceed to complete it, and there was simply no way of rejecting it. How about, I'll ask senior brother Gu to talk to Zhou Xian? Qin Huan suggested. Gu Yanqiu had some status amongst the outer sect disciples, and perhaps he might be able to restrain Zhou Xian. I'll go look for senior brother Gu now. Don't worry, junior sister Yi. Then, he immediately turned around and sprinted away without waiting for Yi Qingtang's reply. Chapter 204. Yi Qingtang saw how Qin Huan ran away so quickly and was at a loss of whether to cry or laugh. If Zhou Xian was so easy to persuade, Gu Yanqiu would have gone to settle the matter right when he heard the news. Yi Qingtang could not stop Qin Huan and could only let him go. Yi Qingtang more or less knew what Zhou Xian was thinking of. There were often deaths when disciples were out on missions. Even if they accidentally lost their lives in a battle, the sect would not investigate too deeply into what happened. Yi Qingtang returned to the room with that thought. It was rare that Lin Long was also in the room today. Yi Qingtang nodded at Lin Long. She saw her and then looked at the silver wolf which was sitting below the window. When the wolf met Yi Qingtang's eyes, something seemed to flash across its green orbs, and it immediately turned away before Yi Qingtang sensed it. Yi Qingtang always felt that her little baby was too shy. Every time she massaged it, it always fell out with her. She was about to caress the wolf, but Lin Long, who had always been silent, suddenly called Yi Qingtang. "Junior sister Yi." A rather aloof female voice sounded from behind Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang stopped in her tracks and looked at Lin Long, who suddenly said something. "Senior sister Lin? Is there anything?" Yi Qingtang usually did not spend a long time in the dorm, and even if she returned, she was mostly with the silver wolf. Lin Long had an aloof personality, and the two of them did not really interact with each other. The only time they talked was the day when Yi Qingtang just moved into the dorm. Lin Long had an indifferent look on her face. She stood up from her table and placed a file in Yi Qingtang's hands. Yi Qingtang looked at Lin Long a little confusedly. When she took a look at the file, she actually realized that it was the file for a sect mission. Why did she suddenly pass her this sect mission file? "Return it back to me before tomorrow." Lin Long returned to her seat and took up a book to read after leaving Yi Qingtang with such an unclear sentence. Yi Qingtang was really at a loss and did not know what was Lin Long trying to do, but she still flipped through the file in her hand. And this surprised her immediately. At the last part of the file, there was a line written clearly. Participants, Zhou Xian, Lin Long. Yi Qingtang. Apart from these three names, there were two other foreign disciples' names. Yi Qingtang suddenly looked up. Although she was looking at Lin Long's cold side profile, her heart was warm. Lin Long was also in Zhou Xian's sect mission and probably already noticed that something was off. Thus, she chose to hand this file to Yi Qingtang. While Yi Qingtang was not afraid of any difficulties that Zhou Xian would make, it was inevitable that she would fall for Zhou Xian's schemes if she did not familiarize herself with the mission contents before going on the mission. Lin Long's move indeed resolved Yi Qingtang's urgent worries. Yi Qingtang's grip on the file tightened as she spoke to Lin Long gently. "Thank you, senior sister Lin." Lin Long looked at Yi Qingtang without emotion and responded with an almost unnoticeable nod. Then she returned her focus on the book in her hand. Yi Qingtang immediately walked to her table with a file in her hand without forgetting to pinch the wolf's ears, which caused the wolf to shoot an annoyed glare at her. Yi Qingtang chuckled after having her way and then focused on the mission file. The mission which the sect appointed to Zhou Xian and the rest was to investigate the tragic case of the extermination of a family. Chapter 205. Every sect had many powerful forces which depended on them. These forces offered worships to the sect regularly, and the sect would give them protection. For the mission that Yi Qingtang and the rest were going on this time, they were to go to a mountain village which was under Xianling sect's protection, Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. Spirit Condensation Mountain Village had attached itself to Xianling sect for a long time, and it had certain fame. It was considered a pretty good family clan. However, it was met with an unexpected calamity a month ago. In just a night, all 360 people in the village were murdered, and there was no clue left behind by the murderer. Spirit Condensation Mountain Village worshipped Xianling sect, and normal forces did not dare to massacre everyone in it. Now that the entire village was massacred within a night, it was as good as a slap in Xianling sect's face. Thus, Xianling sect had to send disciples to investigate the tragic case. Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. In her previous life, there was a hubbub about Spirit Condensation Mountain Village incident as well, but she had never heard that the killer was found. It was definitely not one man's doing to be able to massacre over 300 people in a night. Yi Qingtang read through the file detailedly and realized that the clues given were very vague. Apart from the information of the village master's family, there were simply no leads in this tragedy. Yi Qingtang memorized all the information on the file and returned it to Lin Long. When Lin Long received the file back, she was a little surprised as she looked up at Yi Qingtang with a little suspicion. Yi Qingtang already finished looking through it in such a short time? Have you finished looking through it? Lin Long could not help but ask. Yi Qingtang nodded. Lin Long did not say anything further and kept the file as though nothing happened at all, and she looked down at the book in her hand. Yi Qingtang knew that Lin Long was cold on the outside but warm on the inside and was unwilling to disturb her. Thus, she went back to her area. All the disciples' missions were already allocated, and what was left was for them to make preparations. The new disciples were rather nervous since it was their first time to do a mission, and thus, they discussed for a long time. On Yi Qingtang's side, Lin Long did not like talking, and it was even more impossible for Zhou Xian to tell her anything. Hence, she was very free, and she took out a floating pagoda to nourish her spirit root. It had been a month since she entered the sect, and she clearly felt that her spirit root seemed to have become stronger. During the sect assessment, her spirit root had traces of making a breakthrough to an orange spirit root. In this 1 month, she already felt that her spirit root had gone through drastic changes quietly. Using the time when no one noticed, Yi Qingtang turned around and revealed the spirit root in her palm. A light shone. At that instant, the spirit root in her palm was covered by a large patch of orange, and there was only a tiny trace of red at the tip of the spirit root. Yi Qingtang saw that the spirit root was about to be upgraded to an orange color, and happiness filled her heart. She closed her hands, and the image of the spirit root faded away. A steadfast expression emerged in her smiling eyes. The sect was surging with spirit energy, and the rate of growth of her spirit root here was way faster than that when she was in Lin Town. In at most half a month, she was very certain that she could raise her spirit root to an orange spirit root. Yi Qingtang's eyes twinkled. She, who was focused on upgrading her spirit root, did not notice that when she revealed her spirit root just now, the silver wolf in the corner was watching everything. When it saw that the color of Yi Qingtang's spirit root was about to turn orange, a light flashed across its eyes silently. Chapter 206. The night was silent. The faint moonlight entered from the window and was cast on the silver wolf's body. In the silence, the silver wolf quietly stood up, and its slender limbs allowed it to jump up onto the bed easily. Its deep eyes landed on Yi Qingtang's face. A small black ball of fog emerged out from Yi Qingtang's chest. It wriggled a little out from the fluffy blanket and looked agitatedly at the mighty wolf above it. "Would-be father, have you finally come round? Are you finally going to sneak an attack on mother in the middle of the night?" The little black ball was so excited that its voice trembled unconsciously. It had already been some time since its would-be father came to its mother's side. However, the wolf just remained at a side without saying anything the whole day and completely did not know how to get closer to its mother, which really worried it. The silver wolf swept a cold glare at the little black ball, which immediately hid in Yi Qingtang's arms. "I am saying this all for your own good. Otherwise, when will you be able to have a baby with mother?" mumbled the little black ball softly. The silver wolf's gaze sharpened, but when its eyes landed on Yi Qingtang, the sharpness in its gaze quietly turned into a complicated expression. When it looked at Yi Qingtang's hands, which were lying outside the blanket, its brow was slightly raised. It could not help but recall the image of its body being carelessly touched all over by this pair of hands in the past few days. The silver wolf slightly shook its head and completely cleared that depressing image out of its mind. It slowly raised its paw and placed it on Yi Qingtang's abdomen lightly. A faint light from the silver wolf's paw slowly passed through the blanket and into Yi Qingtang's abdomen. "Oh, would-be father, is this a special copulation method?" The little black ball secretly peeked out from the blanket, and its eyes were dazzled with stars when it saw the silver wolf's affectionate action. The silver wolf froze as it cast a cold glance at the little black ball that said shocking things, wondering if it should squeeze the little black ball to death with a paw. Perhaps it was because of the fact that the silver wolf stiffened and the strength it exerted changed. Yi Qingtang suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. She opened her eyes sleepily and looked at the silver wolf standing on its bed with sleep in her eyes. The silver wolf did not expect Yi Qingtang to suddenly wake up and immediately froze. "Hover. Don't play around." Tired, Yi Qingtang, who was still drowsy from her sleep, did not even notice what the silver wolf had done to her. Her hands stretched out to hug and press down on the silver wolf's head while her slim legs flipped out from the blanket and laid across the silver wolf's body. With both her hands and legs, She directly hugged the furry silver wolf in her arms and even rubbed her head on the silver wolf's face in extreme satisfaction. "Be good, let's sleep." The silver wolf was hugged tightly by Yi Qingtang's octopus-like position. With a slight trace of movement, Yi Qingtang, who was in her sleep, hugged it even more tightly instead. The silver wolf could not do anything. The little black ball still wanted to take a peek but was hit by the silver wolf's paw. The silver wolf looked at Yi Qingtang's sleeping face, which was close at hand, and let out an almost inaudible sigh. It finally closed its eyes, and its body, intentionally or unintentionally, leaned against Yi Qingtang. The little black ball which hid back into the heart of the demon god trembled in excitement. Its would-be father and mother were finally sleeping on the same bed. Mother will be able to have a baby very soon. That's so exciting. Chapter 207. The preparation time for a sect mission was very short, and they had to set off the next morning. When Yi Qingtang woke up, she saw that the silver wolf, which was hugged tightly by her, was looking at her with a numb expression. Yi Qingtang was a little shocked. But very quickly, Yi Qingtang returned to her senses and changed her clothes nimbly. And that scene was on full display in front of a certain someone. The silver wolf's lips twitched slightly, and it instinctively looked away, although it acted to look at her carelessly. Too skinny. A little chubbier would be better. Yi Qingtang did not even notice the silver wolf's thoughts and took her things after changing. She patted the silver wolf's head and said, "Wait for me to return obediently. I will ask senior brother Qin to help me feed you." After that, Yi Qingtang left the room without waiting for the silver wolf to react. She did think of bringing the silver wolf on the mission with her, but because this mission was specially prepared for her, Yi Qingtang did not dare to risk bringing the silver wolf. After leaving her dorm, Yi Qingtang only felt that her body was exceptionally light today and that the abdomen area where her spirit root was at was emitting a faint warmth. It was a very interesting feeling. Could it be that the spirit root is about to break through? Yi Qingtang was very curious as well. She obviously felt that she still needed half a month's time, but why was it that her spirit root had traces of a breakthrough after just one night of sleep? Without thinking any more, Yi Qingtang immediately went to look for Qin Huan to ask him to look after the silver wolf on her behalf during this period of time. Afterward, she left the sect. Outside the sect, many teams were already gathered. Some teams had already set off. Yi Qingtang saw Lin Long's figure from a distance away and immediately walked in that direction. "Senior Sister Lin." Yi Qingtang greeted. Lin Long nodded slightly, and her eyes stopped on Yi Qingtang for a while. She had a feeling that the aura around Yi Qingtang was a little different today, but she could not point out the difference at the moment. Right at that instant, Yi Qingtang heard noisy footsteps and a sarcastic voice. "Senior brother Zhou, why must you bring a useless new disciple on this mission? I think that this group of new disciples don't know anything at all. Even if we bring them, they will just be a burden. How about you rethink it?" A disciple who looked about 20 years old was beside Zhou Xian, and he mumbled in dissatisfaction. Zhou Xian came right after. Other than the person who spoke just now, there was another disciple who was appointed this mission beside Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian's eyes quickly landed on Yi Qingtang as though he completely did not notice what the junior brother beside him meant. He said with a smile, "She would require a certain amount of training as a new disciple anyway. Since we are senior brothers, we should take care of her. Moreover, this little junior sister's spirit root is not good. If I don't invite her, other new disciples might not be willing to go on a mission together with a red spirit root." Red spirit root? It can't be. Those two disciples were shocked when they heard the three words, red spirit root. A new disciple was already useless enough, and it turned out she was still a red spirit root? Was that not the same as a useless piece of trash? Zhou Xian's voice was neither loud nor soft, but it was enough for Yi Qingtang and Lin Long to hear clearly. When Zhou Xian finished his sentence, he already appeared in front of Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang's lips curled into a sneer. Thank you for worrying, senior brother Zhou." Chapter 208. Zhou Xian chuckled. "Of course, since we are from the same sect, I will definitely be worried about you." A cold light thoughtlessly flashed across his eyes when he finished speaking. However, The other two disciples became even more dissatisfied upon hearing Zhou Xian's words. Sect missions were different from rewarded missions. If rewarded missions were a failure, the disciples would lose some time at most and would not receive any other punishments. However, if it was a mission appointed by the sect, it had to be completed. Otherwise, the disciples would be reprimanded by the warden and punished correspondingly once they returned to the sect. Thus, participating disciples were exceptionally meticulous when they were doing sect missions, as they were feared that a failed mission would negatively affect themselves and the sect. Those two disciples sized up Yi Qingtang. Apart from her beautiful face, they despised everything else about Yi Qingtang. Junior sister Yi, it's been a month since you entered the sect. Have you been cultivating hard? Are you familiar with the basics of the Shantian swordplay already? A disciple asked meanly. He did not care about Zhou Xian's reasons for adding this new disciple into the team and was only concerned about whether he could complete his mission. The young girl before him looked weak and did not look like she had the ability to complete the mission. Even if such a person followed them, not putting in any effort was the greatest contribution already. If she was a hindrance in their investigation, it would really be a big problem. How could Yi Qingtang not hear the harshness in the person's words? She was very clear that all of this was intentionally created by Zhou Xian. These disciples may not know about Zhou Xian's objectives, but they hated her because of Zhou Xian's words. Even if she had an accidental death in the mission, these two disciples would probably not even ask about it. Yi Qingtang sneered in her heart, and a sharp look flashed across her eyes as she looked at Zhou Xian's face, of which he concealed his mocking expression. I am asking you a question. Did you hear me? As a junior sister, how dare you ignore a senior brother's question? Do you have any manners? That disciple who did not hear Yi Qingtang's reply immediately frowned unhappily and instinctively wanted to grab her shoulder. A smile passed by Zhou Xian's eyes when he saw the disciple making things difficult for Yi Qingtang. These two junior brothers were specially selected out from the outer sect by him. They had an arrogant and self-conceited nature. Even if he did not openly do anything to Yi Qingtang would already be troubled just by the two's verbal attacks. However, as that disciple stretched his hand out, Yi Qingtang suddenly looked up. Her eyes were obviously smiling, but the coldness in her eyes caused his hand to freeze in midair. He did not know why either, but he felt as though he fell into an ice cellar when he was stared at by her. Senior brother, you're caring too much. Yi Qingtang scoffed. If you don't want to do the mission, then get lost quickly. Stop wasting time here. Lin Long, who had remained silent all along, suddenly walked up to stand before Yi Qingtang and looked at the troublemaking disciples coldly. That disciple saw Lin Long standing in front of him with a cold expression and was taken aback immediately. Fear flashed across his eyes as he said rather guiltily, Senior Sister Lin. Chapter 209. Lin Long's sudden speech shocked Zhou Xian, who was waiting for the drama to ensue. He stood up and spoke in a tone different from the arrogant one he was using when talking to Yi Qingtang. Junior sister Lin is right. It is time for us to set off now as well. The other teams have already left. If we continue being like this here, we would really waste time. Zhou Xian spoke so righteously, but little did anyone know that everything that happened before was all part of his plan. The only thing that surprised him was that Lin Long, who had always been cold and aloof, suddenly spoke up for Yi Qingtang. Lin Long looked at Zhou Xian coldly and then turned around to walk down the path to heaven. With Lin Long's warning, the other disciples did not dare to waste any more time then and walked down the path to heaven after giving Yi Qingtang an annoyed look. Zhou Xian walked slightly slower. After the three of them were a distance away, he walked past Yi Qingtang and said in a volume that only the two of them could hear, Yi Qingtang, I remember your kindness for treating my younger brother, Zhou Chu, that way previously. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes, and her lips tugged up into a seeming smile. So, that good-for-nothing Zhou Chu is actually senior brother Zhou's younger brother? Once he heard the words, good-for-nothing, Zhou Xian's face darkened immediately. He glared at Yi Qingtang with fury in his eyes. Good for nothing? You are a red spirit root trash. What right do you have to call others good for nothing? Yi Qingtang's smile deepened. She tilted her head as she casually glanced down at the sword hung on Zhou Xian's waist. What a pity. Your younger brother can't even crawl up after being beaten by me, a red spirit root. You. Zhou Xian's expression changed. Yi Qingtang suddenly looked up, and her clear eyes directly met with Zhou Xian's. He is clearly a disciple who cultivated for many years in the fist faction but had to lay in bed for days after being beaten by me, a new disciple who just entered the sect for a few days. Senior brother Zhou, in your opinion, how would I dare to snatch the title of being a good-for-nothing from your younger brother? Zhou Xian's face turned blue. He originally thought that Yi Qingtang would not dare to be too insolent after he established an imposing air for himself. Yet, it was as though this woman's mouth was full of poison, and every sentence she said hit him right in the heart. Yi Qingtang, the days ahead are long. Don't say that I didn't remind you. There are many dangers in sect missions. You better take good care of yourself. Zhou Xian left her a sentence coldly and walked down the path to heaven, unwilling to waste time talking to Yi Qingtang, who had the gift of gab. Yi Qingtang looked at Zhou Xian's back view with a seeming smile and looked down to hide the murderous expression which emerged in her eyes for a second. Take good care of yourself? Only that, the one who needed to take good care themselves was not her but Zhou Xian. A murderous smile hung on her lips as she walked down the path to heaven casually. How could a devil from hell be offended by an ordinary person as he pleased? At the same time, after Yi Qingtang just left, Qin Huan remembered what Yi Qingtang entrusted him with and prepared a plate full of beef as an offering to the wolf which Yi Qingtang baited. However, once Qin Huan walked into Yi Qingtang's room, he was immediately dumbfounded to see an empty room. There was not a trace of the wolf. Where is the wolf? In a moment, Qin Huan felt as though the sky was going to fall. Yi Qingtang just left, but the silver wolf disappeared already. If Yi Qingtang returned after finishing her mission, wouldn't he? Chapter 210. Qin Huan went berserk. Without caring about the beef in his hands, he sprinted away while screaming. Senior brother Gu. This is bad. Junior sister Yes Wolf disappeared. Help me to find it, please. At the same time, a tall man was pacing up and down the woods at the foot of the cliff below Xianling sect. Worry and anxiety were written all over his face. This lady, she kidnapped His Highness just like that. How can I rescue His Highness without alarming the Xianling sect? Lady, you are being abandoned, do you know? Mu Su lingered outside Xianling sect for half a month and was about to go insane. There was only one way to the sect, which was the path to heaven. Although he was completely able to fly up to Xianling sect on his own, doing that would definitely alarm everyone in Xianling sect. Mu Su had a special identity, and if he suddenly appeared in Xianling sect, there would be a big stir in Xianling sect. Then, it would take him a lot of effort to find an excuse to deal with those oldies in Xianling sect, much less be able to search for someone. There was no way he could tell the Xianling sect people that the noble and holy palace lord of the Antiquity Palace was forcefully abducted by their outer sect disciple, right? And he was even being abducted in a freaking animal form. If such word spread, all those old elders in Xianling sect would definitely be shocked. Moreover, if His Highness' identity was exposed, there was no doubt that His Highness would behead him. On one hand, he wanted to bring His Highness back, but on the other, he could not let anyone find out about it. Mu Su was so worried that he dropped a bunch of hair, yet he still had not found a reliable method. Thus, he could only stand around and wait for His Highness to leave Xianling sect on his own. After all, with His Highness' skill, Xianling sect's defense and perception were as good as non-existent. However, half a month passed. Mu Su felt that hope was getting increasingly slimmer. Just as Mu Su was weighed down with worry, he suddenly saw a group of Xianling sect disciples coming down from the path to heaven and was shocked when he saw a familiar face walking past him. Yi Qingtang slowly walked down the path to heaven, got on a horse that was already prepared for them, and left with a few other Xianling sect disciples. Lady Yi has left? Mu Su watched Yi Qingtang leave and trembled in shock as he did not even see a silver wolf by Yi Qingtang's side. Lady Yi abducted His Highness, but why was she going out alone now? Where was His Highness? Your Highness, you must know better. You must not be reluctant to come back after being abducted to be the wife of a bandit chief. Even if you want to woo Lady Yi, you don't have to do it now. Mu Su mumbled perplexedly. Before he finished his sentence, he felt a gush of cold air from behind him. Wife of a bandit chief? A rather low voice suddenly sounded behind Mu Su. Once Mu Su heard that voice, happiness filled him. He turned around and saw Han Songming, whom he had been away from for a long time, standing behind him in his attractive human form. Mu Su almost burst out crying there and then. "Your Highness! You're back!" Mu Su wiped a bitter tear away and was only this close from hugging Han Kangming's leg. However, there was a strange look on Han Kangming's face. His cold eyes slowly looked at Mu Su, and he said softly, "What did you say just now?" Chapter 211. With that said, Mu Su's legs suddenly turned jelly. What did he say? He actually said that His Highness was a wife of a bandit chief? And it was even heard by His Highness. There was no way he would get by the days. "Your Highness, listen to my explanation." Mu Su really was about to cry as he looked at Han Songming. Had he known that His Highness would appear at that time, he would definitely not dare to ramble on randomly even if everyone lent him their courage. "Your Highness, why did you not appear earlier nor later but right at that time? Did you really not appear to torture me on purpose?" Mu Su was still thinking about how to make His Highness pardon him from death, but he noticed that Han Kangming's eyes did not even stay on him at all. They looked right over him and at the little figure which was riding away in the opposite direction. "Is His Highness looking at Lady Yi?" Mu Su's heart shook. He faintly sensed that the eyes that His Highness were looking at Yi Qingtang with were a little different from their initial coldness. Could it be that, towards Lady Yi, His Highness really developed feelings after spending time together, in this half a month? "Your Highness, are you feeling better?" Mu Su asked cautiously. Han Songming turned into animal form previously because of the surge of the aura of the evil. Now that he could return back into a human form, it seemed that there should not be any big problems anymore. "It is all right," Han Songming replied. Mu Su heaved a sigh of relief but did not dare to speak carelessly again, as he was afraid that Han Songming would behead him once he remembered what he said about being the wife of the bandit chief. On the other side, Yi Qingtang was on their way to Spirit Condensation Mountain Village with Lin Long and the rest. After a long day of traveling, the group stopped their journey as night fell. They lit a fire in a forest by the road and rested. Senior Brother Zhou, the village master of Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, is skilled, and there are a large number of highly skilled people in the village protecting the village. How could it disappear just like that? A disciple could not help but question after pondering about the case. Zhou Xian replied, "This is hard to say. With over 300 people dying in a night, it was impossible for the surrounding people to not know of such a big commotion. Furthermore, that entire area is under the influence of Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. If there was anything, the people outside the mountain village would definitely not sit still and do nothing. However, the report to the sect did not mention this. I think, perhaps the other party might have poisoned them in secret. Over 300 people were killed in a night in Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, and it could be said that the amount of blood within the village could form a river. Yet, no one outside the sect realized it, and this was a little strange. People nearby Spirit Condensation Mountain Village had investigated the matter before as well, but there was still no clue. Hence, they had no choice but to request Xianling sect for help. Could it be a vendetta? Can't be sure. Zhou Xian and the two other disciples chatted by the fire. Lin Long had a quiet personality, and thus, she only sat at a side while reading the file without saying anything at all. And because of what Zhou Xian deliberately said previously, the other two disciples disliked Yi Qingtang. On the journey, they were unwilling to speak to Yi Qingtang and treated her as though she did not exist. During the conversation, Zhou Xian purposely looked up casually at Yi Qingtang, who made her own fire, and his lips formed into a sneer. "Yi Qingtang, cherish your limited days left. Once we reach Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, I will bury you together with those 300 dead souls in the village." Chapter 212. On the journey, Zhou Xian made things difficult for Yi Qingtang both covertly and overtly but never really attacked her. He merely used words to lead the two disciples who were dissatisfied with Yi Qingtang's spirit route to give Yi Qingtang some attitude, although she completely ignored their sarcastic and discriminating gazes. Very obviously, Zhou Xian did not plan to attack Yi Qingtang on the road. Although they left Xianling's sect, killing off a fellow disciple would require a safe and sound opportunity. Zhou Xian was not willing to let others have something on him. Thus, his target had been locked on the Spirit Condensation Mountain village from the very start. There was the main field for him to deal with Yi Qingtang. After an arduous journey, the 5 people finally reached Spirit Condensation Mountain village. Plants were flattened on a tall mountain, and there were houses situated from the foot of the mountain all the way to the peak. This entire mountain was under Spirit Condensation Mountain Village's possession, and everyone who resided there was a part of forces affiliated to Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. With one look, one could see that there were hundreds of families living there. Yi Qingtang and the rest had just reached the foot of the mountain, but their Xianling sect uniform attracted the attention of the people nearby the mountain village. In no time, an old man and a handsome young man approached them quickly. "Sorry for not coming ahead to welcome you as we were unaware of your arrival. Do pardon us." That elderly lifted his clothes and knelt before the 5 teenagers on horses without caring about seniority. The young man beside the elderly immediately followed the elderly and knelt with his head hung low as well. Similarly, the surrounding citizens knelt down earnestly in awe and respect on both sides of the Xianling sect disciples. The reverence of a sect was simply not what a normal person could offend. In the eyes of ordinary citizens, those who entered a sect were mighty figures standing on top of the clouds, holy and could not be infringed. Zhou Xian and the rest had been in the sect for a long time and were already used to such a grand greeting. This was how noble a sect disciple was in the eyes of normal people. Moreover, Spirit Condensation Mountain Village was originally reliant on Xianling sect, and thus, the people were even more reverent towards them. "Rise. We are ordered here to investigate the tragedy in Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. Which of you is the current person in charge?" Zhou Xian, who was sitting on a horse, glanced across the group of people before him. That old man slowly rose and stepped forward. "I was originally the apothecary of Spirit Condensation Mountain Village and am considered the person in charge of this place right now. This is..." He raised his hand and pointed to the silent young man beside him. "This is the adopted stepson of the village master, Wu Zheng. We have been waiting for you all for a long time. Please do us, Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, justice." "Of course." Zhou Xian replied proudly. "You all must be worn out from the journey. We have already prepared food and drinks. You all can dismount and rest for a while understanding the situation here," the apothecary said respectfully. Zhou Xian nodded slightly. After exchanging a look with the other disciples, he immediately dismounted and headed to their destination with the company of the apothecary and Wu Zheng. Yi Qingtang walked beside Lin Long at the tail of the team and looked at the surrounding citizens' faces casually. Perhaps it was because a bloody massacre happened, fear and uneasiness were prevalent in the citizens' eyes, though they faked a calm front. Only after they saw Yi Qingtang and the others did that look of uneasiness fade away slowly, though their ash-pale faces were enough to prove the trepidation they felt over the past few days. Chapter 212. 1. Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. 2. The apothecary brought the 5 of them to their destination. The uneasy citizens lingered outside the door and were not willing to leave. Their fear seemed to finally dissipate only when they were standing close to these sect disciples. What exactly happened to Spirit Condensation Mountain Village? Zhou Xian questioned straight to the point after sitting down. Although he wanted to make use of this chance to get rid of Yi Qingtang, he did not forget the mission he was tasked to as well. Otherwise, even if he killed Yi Qingtang, he would still be punished by the sect should he not complete the mission. Furthermore, he did not think that killing Yi Qingtang would be difficult. After hearing the question, the apothecary could not help but sigh heavily. "This is a long story. That day was our village master's 50th birthday celebration. There were many guests that night, and the celebration finally ended at midnight. After a whole day of labor, everyone was tired by nighttime and went to rest after sending the guests off. However, no one would have thought that an accident happened that very night." Yi Qingtang listened from aside quietly. What the apothecary said was the same as the information mentioned in the sect file, and there were no special clues. Can you bring us to look at the situation in Spirit Condensation Mountain Village first? Zhou Xian wanted to continue questioning, yet Yi Qingtang suddenly requested to take a look at the scene of the accident. He frowned displeasingly, but on second thought, they had to inspect the scene as well. Thus, he did not say anything. The apothecary replied, "Sure. We did not dare to touch anything in the mountain village so that you all can inspect the scene closely when you all are here." Then, the apothecary stood up and led the group towards Spirit Condensation Mountain Village along with Wu Zheng. Zhou Xian and the other two disciples took a step first and walked at the front. Rather, it was Lin Long who, intentionally or unintentionally, walked at a speed which coincidentally matched with Yi Qingtang's pace and was walking right beside Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang had noticed this long ago when they were still on the road. Senior sister Lin always instinctively maintained the same pace as her, and even if they were in a hurry, senior sister Lin was never too far away from her. Although Yi Qingtang did not talk much to this cold senior sister during the journey, Yi Qingtang noticed Lin Long's subtle actions. Yi Qingtang had a feeling that Lin Long seemed to have sensed that Zhou Xian was going to harm Yi Qingtang, which caused her to keep maintaining a close distance with her on purpose. To this, Yi Qingtang felt an inexpressible warmth. In her previous life, Lin Long was also like this. She didn't talk much normally and had a detached personality but would lend a hand at critical times. As she pondered, they had already reached the main entrance of Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. Before entering the door to the mountain village, they saw large patches of blood flowing out from under the door. The blood had already dried, but the strong blood smell traveled into their noses along with the wind. Contrasting against the black door, the blood which seeped under the door was like a giant tongue of a demon. This is it. However, please be mentally prepared. The situation inside is not too good, reminded the apothecary before he opened the door. Zhou Xian frowned a little, obviously not putting the apothecary's words to heart. It was merely a bloody scene. He had gone on many missions before. How would he have seen little of such situations? "Open the door," Zhou Xian said. Chapter 212. 2. Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. 3. The apothecary hesitated for a moment and finally nodded at Wu Zheng beside him. Wu Zheng went forward quietly and pushed open the tightly shut door. The moment the door was pushed open, a strong blood smell greeted them. The smell was so intense that one could faint from it. The scene inside made the calm Zhou Xian shudder and breathe with difficulty. Hundreds of heads were piled in the courtyard of Spirit Condensation Mountain Village like a tower of skulls. Crimson dried blood hardened on the almost decomposed skulls. Over 300 skulls were piled in the courtyard so glaringly. Crimson blood covered the entire courtyard as though a demonic blood-colored flower was in full bloom, while the hundreds of skulls formed the core of the flower of death. Along with the intense smell of death in the air, the image was imprinted in everyone's eyes. In an instant, Zhou Xian and the rest turned pale. Even if he knew that Spirit Condensation Mountain Village would be gory, he did not expect that skulls would be piled up like mountains. On the decomposed skulls, worms were crawling around inside the rotten flesh, while eyeballs that were left half-eaten by crows hung in the eye sockets as though they were still looking at the group at the door. It was freaky and twisted. The mixture of the rotting smell and blood smell caused one's stomach to churn. Blarg! A Xianling sect disciple vomited at the smell. Zhou Xian's face lost all color. Only until then did he finally realize why the apothecary added that one sentence. Even for him, a self-praised, experienced and knowledgeable person, vomit was at the back of his throat when he saw the sight. The other disciple's face turned green as well, and it was evident that he was on the verge of puking from disgust. Even Lin Long's face turned white. Among all of them, only Yi Qingtang's expression was the same as usual as she took a calm look at the tragic hell-looking place. "We were worried that we would spoil the clues, so we have never touched the things here," the apothecary said softly after seeing everyone's expression. After Spirit Condensation Mountain Village was washed in blood in a night, they did not even dare to move anything in the village and only waited for the Xianling sect to send people over to investigate. Thus, they did not touch anything in the village, and the place remained the way it was initially. Moreover, they had already used some powder which could prevent the corpses from decomposing rapidly, though the fact that they had decomposed could not be covered, and the powder was only able to stall for time. Zhou Xian faked a calm front and nodded, but the tightly frowned brows revealed his emotions at that instant. Do all these skulls belong to Spirit Condensation Mountain Village? Yes. The apothecary nodded and raised a hand, pointing to the skull at the top of the mountain of skulls. That skull belongs to our village master, Wu Qingze. In the layer below it, those skulls belong to the wife of the village master and the 3 young village masters. Zhou Xian did not want to look at those frightening skulls anymore, but it was not convenient for him to show it. After all, these still required to be investigated. Suddenly, Zhou Xian looked another way and at Yi Qingtang, whose expression was the same as usual. Chapter 213, Junior Sister Yi. Zhou Xian suddenly called Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang lifted her eyes slightly. Zhou Xian's face was pale as he was disgusted by the skulls. Yi Qingtang's mouth tilted. Junior Sister Yi, this is your first time attending a sect mission. I will not risk your life for some dangerous tasks, but you need some training. The skulls here may contain some clues of the tragedy at the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. Thus, you must check through every single skull here carefully to look for clues, Zhou Xian said in a noble way. It seemed that he really picked the best task for Yi Qingtang wholeheartedly. The 2 disciples sneered as Zhou Xian finished his words. Frankly speaking, if they took a few more looks at the rotten skulls, they would be vomiting. They would never touch the skull for investigation. Furthermore, the skulls had decayed to the extent that there were little or no clues left at all. They definitely did not want to waste energy on this kind of task. However, they were delighted if Yi Qingtang could take the task. Lin Long frowned upon hearing Zhou Xian's words. Yi Qingtang clearly noticed what a hypocrite Zhou Xian was. Surprisingly, she did not reject Zhou Xian's proposal. She shrugged her shoulder and agreed. Okay. No one expected that Yi Qingtang would agree with that so easily. Even an adult male might not be able to face the rotten skull tower without fear. How could a young lady be capable of such a feat? However, Yi Qingtang agreed without hesitation. Zhou Xian was expecting Yi Qingtang to reject his proposal. His mouth twitched. But when he remembered that Yi Qingtang would spend her time with the rotten skulls, he felt more relieved. Thank you for the trouble, Junior Sister Yi. Zhou Xian faked a smile and looked towards the apothecary. There are only the skulls of the 300 people from the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village here. Where are their bodies? The corpses are scattered around the village. I will show you the way. The apothecary answered. Zhou Xian lifted his eyebrows slightly and took a glance at Yi Qingtang. Okay then, he said. Junior Village Master, I'm afraid you have to accompany this lady here to identify these skulls, the apothecary said towards Wu Zheng. The handsome young man who remained silent nodded without any expressions. The apothecary then led Zhou Xian and the rest to other places in the village. Lin Long wanted to stay, but Yi Qingtang shook her head. Lin Long paused for a moment and followed up with Zhou Xian. Yi Qingtang chuckled as Zhou Xian and the rest left. How could she not know Zhou Xian's intentions? However, Zhou Xian wanted to scare her with these rotten skulls, but he would be disappointed soon. What kind of bloody scene had she not witnessed before in the tortures of her previous life? She even spent days under rotten corpses to hide from the killings. How could she be scared of a few hundred skulls? Such a joke. Yi Qingtang withdrew her sight. She did not bother about Zhou Xian's little trick. She only cared about the tragedy at the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. In her previous life, the tragedy remained unsolved after 200 years, and this was Yi Qingtang's first sect mission. It would not be good news for a new disciple to fail their first mission. Chapter 214. Though the skulls were sprinkled with powder that delayed the decaying process, the degree of decaying of the flesh was still very obvious. Furthermore, the skulls were exposed in the open yard, and the crows that were attracted by the decaying smell pecked the skulls. Among the flesh, pus that came from the decaying matter had covered the entire skulls, making them look extremely disgusting. However, Yi Qingtang seemed to not notice the disgusting scene. She walked to the skull tower directly and took down the top skull. The moment the skull was removed, the whole skull tower seemed to experience severe vibrations. The 300 skulls rolled down and fell beside Yi Qingtang's feet. Yi Qingtang was surrounded by the hundreds of rotten skulls within a second. Wu Zheng, who remained silent throughout, shivered slightly. The horrifying scene was hard to look steadily at. However, when Wu Zheng looked up, he was shocked by the young lady who seemed to be standing in a scene of carnage. The young lady stood among the flesh with the sunlight shining on her. There was no trace of fear on her delicate face. Her eyes were lowered to stare at the rotten skull in her hands. When the sunlight reached her long eyelashes, she appeared so mysterious. She seemed to be smiling with her lips tilted slightly. Seemed like she was holding a piece of jewelry instead of a disgusting skull. Yi Qingtang flipped the skull in her hand to have a view of all sides. She just allowed the pus to drop through her fingers freely. She scanned through the skull that belonged to the village master Wu Qingze. Wu Zheng had never met such a young lady before. She could still remain that calm in front of the bloody scenes. Yi Qingtang stared at the skull for quite a while. She suddenly looked up and asked Wu Zheng, who was stunned at the side. "This belongs to Wu Qingze?" Wu Zheng pulled himself out of astonishment and nodded slightly. Yi Qingtang did not ask further. She just took a look at the skull again and left it at the side. She then picked up another skull. "Are you the adopted son of the village master?" Yi Qingtang checked through the skull on her hand and asked questions that seemed to be irrelevant. "Yes." Wu Zheng answered respectfully. He had to be polite and respectful in front of a sect disciple even if he was the master's own son. "When did you come to the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village?" Yi Qingtang seemed to be asking Wu Zheng, but her sight never left the skulls. Wu Zheng looked down and said, "When I was still an infant, father brought me back to the village." "Where were you when the tragedy happened?" Yi Qingtang looked towards Wu Zheng. Based on her memory from her previous life, the whole force collapsed after the tragedy. But she had never heard of people mentioning about the adopted son Wu Zheng. "Father asked me to send the young lady of the Dongyue family back. She came for a birthday celebration." Wu Zheng replied. Chapter 215. The night before the tragedy was Wu Cheng's 50-years-old birthday celebration. Many guests came, and the celebration lasted until midnight. The Dongyue family that Wu Zheng mentioned was another prestigious family nearby. There was a rumor that the two families had agreed on the marriage alliance. Yi Qingtang nodded and did not speak anymore. It seemed that all the questions before were just some random thoughts. After that, besides asking Wu Zheng about the origin of the skulls, there was no further conversation. Before the sunset, Zhou Xian and the rest who walked through the entire village were all very pale. The Spirit Condensation Mountain Village was not small, but the 300 corpses were everywhere in the village. Everywhere that they could see was covered by blood. The decaying smell made them feel like they were walking in hell. "Senior brother Zhou, the situation of the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village seems to be more complicated than what we thought," a disciple who vomited many times said. Zhou Xian nodded in acknowledgement. Everything they saw today was bloody, but there were no useful clues at all. Everyone's head in the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village was chopped off, and the wound was very neat. There were no traces of fighting beside the corpses. "It's not revenge. If it were revenge, how could they just succumb so easily?" Zhou Xian contemplated for a while and looked towards the Lin Long, who was walking at the back. "Junior sister Lin, did you discover anything?" Lin Long shook her head. Zhou Xian frowned and felt a bit annoyed. How could they accomplish the mission without any clues? "There are no clues here." "What about the skulls?" one of the disciples said. Zhou Xian was stunned for a while and then remembered that Yi Qingtang was still in that mountain of skulls. He sneered and said, "We shall see junior sister Yes investigation results. What can she find out? I don't think she will be able to find any clues at all. I suppose that she was terrified by the skulls and did not even dare to touch the skulls. Senior brother Zhou, Yi Qingtang is just a burden. She can't do anything besides finding more troubles for us." One of the disciples twitched his mouth and did not expect any results from Yi Qingtang. "It's her first time attending a sect mission. We should tolerate her even if she creates some trouble. We are all her senior brothers and senior sisters, so we must look after her," Zhou Xian said with a strong sense of righteousness. Senior brother Zhou, you are too kind to her. She did not feel grateful to your kindness at all, another disciple said coldly. Zhou Xian did not say much. He just waved his hand. Don't mention it anymore. We shall go check out the situation at the yard. In the eyes of the two disciples, Zhou Xian was taking care of Yi Qingtang in all perspectives. Even if Yi Qingtang died, they would not find Zhou Xian suspicious at all. And this was what Zhou Xian wanted. The two disciples were obviously misled by Zhou Xian's fake kindness and looked down on Yi Qingtang, who only possessed a red spirit root. The group of people walked into the yard and waited to see Yi Qingtang's pale and panicking face. However, they were shocked by the view in front of them when they reached the yard. Chapter 216. There was an odd harmony in the bloody yard. The skulls that were stacked up previously were now arranged neatly in a few lines on the ground. All of them were facing the same direction without any flaws. It seemed that countless corpses were buried underground, leaving only the skulls above the ground. Those pairs of empty eyes stared straight at the direction where Zhou Xian came from. The disciple who almost vomited previously was shocked by the scene. His legs trembled and almost fell to the ground. What the hell? Yi Qingtang, who was wiping off the dirt on her hand, raised her head when she heard the scream. There seemed to be a faint smile on her delicate face, and her eyes were half closed, looking towards Zhou Xian and the rest. My fellow senior brothers and senior sisters, how's the investigation? Yi Qingtang asked in a lazy voice. Her tone seemed to be filled with slight sarcasm. Zhou Xian was stunned when he saw Yi Qingtang standing there and smiling to him. She did not seem to be affected at all. What was Yi Qingtang planning to do? Was she really a 15-year-old young lady? How could a young lady remain so calm in front of all the rotten skulls? If it was other normal people, they might be scared to death. Besides Zhou Xian, the other two disciples who were unhappy with Yi Qingtang now stared at her in horror. Zhou Xian suppressed his astonishment. He did not answer Yi Qingtang directly. Instead, he scanned through the skulls and said, Junior Sister Yi, what is this for? The people of the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village died mysteriously. Even though you are still playful at your age, you should not play with the skulls of the dead people. Zhou Xian sounded like he was trying to educate Yi Qingtang. However, he was actually criticizing her for not respecting the dead. Yi Qingtang sneered. She bent down and picked up one skull. Zhou Xian sneered secretly after witnessing Yi Qingtang's move, but he did not show anything on his face. Junior Sister Yi, that's not appropriate, he said and frowned. He then looked towards the apothecary and tried to apologize. My junior sister is still young and does not know her manners well. Please understand. Spirit Condensation Mountain Village was a side force of the Xianling sect. Under any circumstances, disrespecting the dead was out of the manner. The apothecary was stunned, but he did not dare to blame a sect disciple. He could only shake his head. Zhou Xian then looked towards Yi Qingtang and commanded, Junior Sister Yi, do not do such unreasonable things. We are here for an investigation, not to mess around. Put back the skulls now. Zhou Xian's command made the other two disciples dislike Yi Qingtang even more. They were surprised by Yi Qingtang's courage, but disrespecting the dead was really inappropriate. Junior Sister Yi, Spirit Condensation Mountain Village is under our sect. Do not ruin our fame. One of the disciples was displeased. Yi Qingtang raised her eyebrows slightly. She smiled when she noticed how the rest were convinced by Zhou Xian. She ignored Zhou Xian's cankered face and looked straight to the skull on her hand. The degree of the decay of these 300 skulls here is very severe. However, there is no obvious wound besides normal decay. Chapter 217. Zhou Xian was stunned a little when Yi Qingtang suddenly spoke. Junior Sister Yi, there are 300 skulls here. We need further investigation to understand the situation. You should not be so certain with your judgment. Our investigation is closely related to the 300 lives here. We should examine every single skull. You cannot just conclude with a few sentences. Take this seriously. Zhou Xian sneered. The other two disciples also showed unpleasant expressions. They would not believe that Yi Qingtang could investigate the 300 skulls within such a short period of time and reach a conclusion. Yi Qingtang smiled when the rest challenged her. Her white fingers swiped through the pus on the decayed flash. She forced open the mouth of the skull and pulled out the rotten tongue. Senior brother Zhou, look carefully. Is there anything abnormal with the tongue? Zhou Xian frowned as he felt disgusted by the rotten tongue. However, he did not show anything on his face and pretended to be calm. Just a rotten tongue. Yi Qingtang chuckled and pulled out the dagger from her waist. She used the dagger to scale down a layer of mucus from the tongue and put it in front of Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian almost vomited when he suddenly saw the disgusting mucus in front of his eyes. Senior brother Zhou, the tongue is severely rotten indeed. But the residue of the Duanyuan grass is well preserved. Duanyuan grass? Zhou Xian's face changed. He controlled his impulse to vomit and took a closer look at the mucus. It was true that there was some dark green plant residue among the mucus. The residue was very tiny, and it was easily neglected if one did not examine carefully. Duanyuan grass is a type of poisonous grass grown at the edge of the cliff. It is not fatal, but it will cause people to faint within a short period of time. The person will lose all senses and will not wake up no matter how noisy the surroundings are. Furthermore, it does not contain any smell. If it is crushed and put into tea, people will only treat it as tea leaves. No one will be able to detect that. Yi Qingtang smiled and explained. The night when the people of the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village were murdered was the village master Wu Cheng's birthday celebration. They were busy for the whole night and were definitely exhausted in the morning. It's absolutely normal for them to drink some tea to quench their thirst. However, the tea that was mixed with Duanyuan grass was enough to make everyone in the village faint. I'm afraid they didn't even know how they died when they were murdered. Yi Qingtang spoke slowly. However, Zhou Xian and the rest were pale when they heard what she said. They had noticed earlier that all the victims did not fight back before they were murdered. They suspected that someone poisoned them and tested the corpses with a silver needle. But the silver needle did not turn black. They thought that their direction was wrong, as even the most basic drug could turn the silver needle black. They had never thought that the murderer would use Duanyuan grass, which did not need any extraction processes. Duanyuan grass could make people faint, but it was not poisonous. Thus, no matter how they tried, they would have never found out the conclusion by using the silver needle. Furthermore, Duanyuan grass was crushed to powder. If it entered the stomach and was mixed with the flesh, no one could find out anything. Chapter 218. The residue on the tongue was mixed with blood. How many people could notice that? Zhou Xian's face clouded up. It was funny to recall how he mocked at Yi Qingtang previously. They were looking everywhere for the whole afternoon to no avail, yet Yi Qingtang alone found out the hidden clues from such insignificant details. Burden? If she was counted as a burden, then the rest of them could be called useless. Zhou Xian, who tried to make things difficult for Yi Qingtang, was embarrassed now. All the sarcastic things he said were punching his own face now. Junior sister Yi, you are good at finding details, Zhou Xian said and gritted his teeth. Yi Qingtang lifted her eyebrows and said, Senior brother Zhou, do you want to take the residue for further investigation? She moved the dagger with mucus closer to Zhou Xian. The foul smell immediately flew into Zhou Xian's nose. He stepped back to prevent any contact with the mucus. Junior brother Lu, what are you waiting for? Keep the things here. Zhou Xian tried to remain calm as he called one of the disciples at the side. That disciple had vomited a few times by the scenes in the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. His face was as pale as a piece of paper when Zhou Xian called his name. His unpleasant face was a clear comparison with Yi Qingtang's smile. Junior brother Lu could not help but go forward and take over the dagger. His body was full of goosebumps instantly. Yi Qingtang smiled as she saw the unpleasant faces. Only some of the skulls here have Duanyuan grass residue, and some are not obvious. If you want to look closely, you need to take their tongues. Junior sister Yi. Zhou Xian stopped Yi Qingtang before she finished her sentence. He could guess what she was about to say. The sect disciples here all came from prestigious families. They lived a comfortable life when they were young. Though they were requested to attend the mission, They would never use their hands to touch the filthy stuff. However, Yi Qingtang did not seem to be bothered by that at all. None of the rest wanted to scale mucus down from the dead people's mouths. They could feel the goosebumps by just imagining that. It's getting late today. We should not rush now. Tomorrow, I will ask the apothecary to find someone to do that. We need to analyze other things as well. Since we have figured out that it was all caused by Duanyuan grass, we should discuss the potential suspects who could have used the Duanyuan grass. Zhou Xian tried to speak in a normal way, but he felt constricted by Yi Qingtang's behavior and words. Yi Qingtang just shrugged her shoulder and did not say anything. Apothecary, please lead us to the place that we will be staying at. We will figure out the murderer based on the investigation today. Zhou Xian looked towards the apothecary and said, "Yes." The apothecary replied respectfully. The apothecary and Wu Zheng then led the group to their living place. Only after the gate of the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village was closed, Zhou Xian and the rest felt slightly relieved. Chapter 219. The apothecary still found a relatively nice house for Zhou Xian and the rest to stay even though the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village was destroyed. He did not dare to neglect these disciples of the Xianling sect. We will go pack our luggage now and gather at the level 1 hall later to discuss the clues we have found today. Zhou Xian acted as a leader and gave out commands. No one had any objections, and everyone returned to their respective rooms. Zhou Xian held his composure until the moment he closed his door. He quickly removed his shirt and washed his hands repeatedly with water. The corpses of the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village were there for quite a long time. Though they were spread with powder, it could not slow down the speed of decay. Furthermore, the weather was not cold, and it was possible to have a plague outbreak. That was the reason why Zhou Xian did not touch any single corpse today. Where does Yi Qingtang come from? Zhou Xian finally washed off the stink on his body and then remembered Yi Qingtang's behaviors today. He intended to make things difficult for her by asking her to investigate the skulls. However, she was not scared at all and found out the only clue. Zhou Xian felt slightly embarrassed, but he was not in a rush to eliminate her now. Zhou Xian clearly remembered the revenge for Zhou Chu and the orders from senior brother Ning Luo. However, he realized the value of Yi Qingtang today. If he could make use of her to find out the truth of the tragedy in Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, it would save a lot of troubles for himself. He could eliminate her afterward. Then, he could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Zhou Xian was proud of himself for such brilliant plans. He sat lazily in his chair with his legs crossed. He leaned on the back of the chair, and his eyes were cunning. Yi Qingtang, you should treasure the time you have left with and use your brain to help me complete my mission. While Zhou Xian was scheming against Yi Qingtang left her room after washing up. When she reached the hall, there were no other disciples yet. There was only one tall and handsome young man standing in the hall. Wu Zheng heard the footsteps and saw Yi Qingtang coming down. He withdrew his sight and lowered his head humbly. "Lady Yi." Wu Zheng addressed her with respect. Yi Qingtang smiled and walked downstairs. She sat on a random chair and used one of her hands to support her head and looked towards Wu Zheng. Wu Zheng was very tall and had delicate features on his face. He was not that shockingly handsome, but his face was flawless when one observed closely. "Don't be so polite, young sir. Just sit down and talk." Yi Qingtang smiled at him. Wu Zheng hesitated for a while and eventually sat down. "Since you are adopted by Wu Qingze, do you know who your real parents are?" Yi Qingtang pretended to be bored and threw out a random question. "My parents are normal hunters. They were killed while hunting. Father adopted me when I was still young back then." Wu Zheng replied. "Young sir, the village master and the junior masters died during the tragedy. I'm afraid that you will be the heir of the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village in the future, right?" Yi Qingtang chuckled and asked. Chapter 220. Wu Zheng was stunned. He raised his eyes to look at Yi Qingtang, and a trace of shock appeared in the pair of clear eyes. "Lady Yi, are you suspecting that?" Yi Qingtang smiled but did not reply to Wu Zheng. Instead, she murmured to herself. "There is a cliff behind the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, and there should have Duanyuan grass. Only close people would have the chance to put the Duanyuan grass in tea after the celebration. Wu Zheng's eyes sparkled. He did not say anything and lowered his eyes. Yi Qingtang took a glimpse at Wu Zheng and smiled. Since it's not done by strangers, it must be people who are close. Young sir, did Wu Qingze mistreat anyone supporting the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village before? Wu Zheng frowned and shook his head. Father is always a kind village master. Hundreds of families nearby benefited from Father. They were not requested to submit any offerings, as Father treated them as family. If Lady Yi has any questions, you can ask around. Yi Qingtang nodded. Actually, Spirit Condensation Mountain Village always had a good reputation. There were no rumors about Wu Qingze mistreating the people here. Lin Long walked down slowly when they were chatting. She exchanged a glance with Yi Qingtang and sat at the side. While they were waiting for the rest, they heard a range of footsteps from the second level. One of the disciples rushed to the staircase. Senior Sister Lin. Something's wrong. Junior Brother Lu. You should go and take a look now. The disciple was panicking, and the three people were stunned slightly after hearing his words. Lin Long stood up immediately and dashed to the second floor. Yi Qingtang and Wu Zheng also followed up. They soon arrived at the room of Junior Brother Lu. Junior Brother Lu, who came back with the rest, was extremely pale. He fell by the side of the bed, and his whole body was shivering. His clothes were only half removed when he collapsed onto the ground and lost his consciousness. What happened? Zhou Xian also came over. He glanced at Junior Brother Lu, who fell onto the ground, and his face suddenly changed. I don't know as well. Just now I wanted to ask him to go downstairs, but I knocked his door for a while, and no one came. Thus, I pushed open the door. I did not expect that. He was lying on the ground when I came in. The disciple who went to call up the rest replied in fear. Zhou Xian put up an unpleasant face. Junior Brother Lu was normal just now. What happened to him within such a short period of time? Help him up first. Zhou Xian commanded. The disciple immediately helped Junior Brother Lu up to his bed, and Wu Zheng went to invite the apothecary over at the same time. What happened? The apothecary rushed over, and he appeared to be very nervous. Please help to take a look at my junior brother. Zhou Xian requested once he saw the apothecary. Sure. The apothecary nodded immediately and went forward to do a checkup for Junior Brother Lu. Chapter 221. Everyone stood at the side to wait for the apothecary. However, the apothecary's face was getting more and more unpleasant. When he lifted up Junior Brother Liu's top, he stood up in shock and stepped back. Blood plague? It's the blood plague. The apothecary voice also changed. Everyone froze when the apothecary shouted. There was a patch of red spots on Junior Brother Liu's body. The red spots were getting clearer as his body shivered. Zhou Xian immediately felt cold sweat on his face. Blood plague was an extremely fatal plague that usually broke out after a natural disaster in the affected areas. When corpses piled up and decayed, blood plague might break out. Zhou Xian was still worried about this, but he did not expect it to happen for real. The disciple who helped Junior Brother Lu was taken aback when he heard about the blood plague. He fell to the ground and started shivering. I just touched him. Senior Brother Zhou, I just touched him. The blood plague could be spread through physical contact. It spread very fast, and the whole blood system would be contaminated in a short period of time. It was very difficult to cure that. People who cultivate were more scared of the damage towards their spirit roots. At the early stage of the blood plague, the contaminated blood would corrode the spirit root. Even if the person were cured, the damaged spirit root could not be restored. The spirit root was the foundation for cultivation. If it were damaged, the cultivation road would terminate right there. Zhou Xian could hear the buzzing sound in his head. He sighed in relief that he did not touch any corpse today. If not, he would be the person lying there. Apothecary, please help to take a look at the rest of my juniors, Zhou Xian said and took a deep breath. His eyesight landed on Yi Qingtang. They did not have much contact with the corpses today. Junior Brother Lu only touched the corpse once. The closest contact he had was the dagger he took over from Yi Qingtang, the one with the pus on it. If Junior Brother Lu was infected by that Yi Qingtang, There was a trace of malice appearing in Zhou Xian's eyes. He might not need to eliminate Yi Qingtang by himself. Furthermore, it would take a period of time for the blood plague to be fatal. He could ask Yi Qingtang to continue the investigation during this period of time. That would be the best ending. The apothecary did a checkup for the rest of the 3 people. There were red spots on the arms of the shocked disciple and Lin Long. Their state of infection was much lighter when compared to junior brother Lu. However, Yi Qingtang, who had the most contact with the corpses, did not have any trace of the blood plague. Zhou Xian was surprised by the results. He did not forget to go through the checkup, and luckily, there was no red spot on his body. However, among the 5 people who came, 3 were infected with the blood plague. That was not good news. Zhou Xian frowned. Yi Qingtang was a little surprised when she saw the few not-so-obvious red spots on Lin Long's arm. There was no information about the blood plague in her previous life when the tragedy of the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village happened. However, why did the blood plague suddenly occur? Chapter 222 Yi Qingtang felt something suspicious as the blood plague did not occur in her previous life. She did not care about the rest, but Lin Long was also infected. Apothecary, do you have any ways to control the blood plague? Zhou Xian showed an unpleasant expression. The blood plague is not fatal yet. I don't know the way to cure it completely, but I will provide some herbal soup to delay its spread in the body. The apothecary was not very confident. It would not be so terrifying if a plague could be cured so easily. The blood plague spreads very fast. We should dispose of the corpses of the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village as soon as possible to prevent others from getting infected. The apothecary suggested. Zhou Xian frowned slightly. He did not give an immediate reply. He scanned through the faces of the rest, but another thought emerged in his brain. This mission was assigned by the sect. They would be punished if they could not accomplish it. Furthermore, they bribed the warden in order to assign Yi Qingtang to this task. If they did not accomplish the mission and got exposed for the bribe, Zhou Xian would definitely be punished heavily as the leader. Additionally, if they returned to the sect now, he would lose the chance to eliminate Yi Qingtang. It was easy to explain the situation to his brother, but for Ning Luo, Zhou Xian squinted his eyes and took a breath secretly. We have not found out the murderer of the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village yet. If we dispose of the corpses now, we would lose a lot of clues. Since Spirit Condensation Mountain Village is under our sect, we will definitely continue the investigation. You only need to block the entire mountain village and spread the powder that can deter the plague at the borders. Warn the rest not to approach the area, and we will handle the rest. Zhou Xian looked at the apothecary and ordered. The apothecary was stunned as he did not expect that Zhou Xian was still not willing to dispose of the corpses. The blood plague might spread to innocent people anytime if they left the corpses there. Sir, do we need to inform the sect that the blood plague is spreading? Zhou Xian waved his hand to reject his suggestion. We are the sect disciples, and we are proud of our sect. Since Spirit Condensation Mountain Village is under us and 300 people died in misery, we will not stop due to a little obstacle. Zhou Xian was full of justice. Though the apothecary was still worried, he did not try to convince him again. Sir, you are such a righteous disciple of the Xianling sect. I really admire you, and we will never forget your kindness. Yi Qingtang sneered as she observed how Zhou Xian's expressions changed. When did Zhou Xian's temper change? He decided to stay for investigation when he knew that he might get infected by the blood plague anytime. She did not recall that Zhou Xian was such a righteous person. Zhou Xian turned his head when Yi Qingtang was staring at him. Junior sister Yi, we need to control the spread of the blood plague in junior brother Lu and rest, but we need to accomplish the sect mission as well. Thus, you will be in charge of the investigation now. I will take care of the rest, Zhou Xian said and smiled. He showed a sense of justice, but his words shocked Lin Long. Zhou Xian still asked Yi Qingtang to investigate when there was the blood plague in the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village? What was he up to? Chapter 223. Even Lin Long, who always appeared to be indifferent, felt enraged towards Zhou Xian. Apparently, he tried to make things difficult on purpose. Yi Qingtang smiled at Zhou Xian, who was full of cunning. She was still contemplating why Zhou Xian became so kind, but actually he left this inhumane task for her. If she accomplished the task, Zhou Xian would definitely take the credit from her. If she failed, he would not have to touch the corpses and did not have the chance to get infected. He would not lose anything. He would gain all the credits eventually and suppress the rest with the sex honor. The few people who were infected with the blood plague might not be able to leave this place anymore. Such a perfect plan. Zhou Xian squinted his eyes as he did not receive any reaction from Yi Qingtang. Junior Sister Yi, we had never looked down on you as a new disciple during this mission. And we did not create any troubles for you deliberately just because you possess the red spirit root. We took care for you the whole time, and now that Junior Sister Lin and the rest are infected with the blood plague, are you willing to let them investigate when they are ill? As a human being, you need to learn how to be gracious. Do not be so selfish. The beautiful words Zhou Xian said to Yi Qingtang sounded so pleasant. Yi Qingtang's eyes darkened. However, she laughed after a short while. She glanced at Zhou Xian's hypocritic face. Senior brother Zhou is correct. I will be in charge of the investigation. Rest assured. Yi Qingtang replied. It was out of everyone's expectation that Yi Qingtang compromised. Lin Long frowned and wanted to pull Yi Qingtang to stop her decision. She withdrew her hand when she realized that she could not touch Yi Qingtang when she was infected with the blood plague. I shall say thank you first then. Zhou Xian smiled and gave a few orders to the apothecary before he left. The shocked disciple immediately asked the apothecary to check his situation. Lin Long threw a glance towards Yi Qingtang and left the room. Yi Qingtang followed. You should not have agreed to that, Lin Long said and frowned to Yi Qingtang when they were outside the room. Yi Qingtang's eyes softened. We have to accomplish the mission. Senior Sister Lin, you just rest for these few days, and I will find out the truth. Lin Long shook her head and sighed. I saw the competition between you and Zhou Chu the other day. Zhou Chu was injured mysteriously afterward, but I knew it was because of you. Zhou Xian is not a generous person, and he will not let go so easily. You are lucky that you are not infected with the blood plague. You are killing yourself if you go back to the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. Lin Long did not know why she said those words to Yi Qingtang, but she always felt that Yi Qingtang was different from the rest. Though they did not talk much in the past, she took extra care for her. Yi Qingtang lowered her eyes to hide the smile she had. Senior Sister Lin is still a cold outside but warm inside person as in the previous life. Senior Sister Lin, you don't need to worry for me. I will take care of myself. Yi Qingtang then took out a bottle of elixir and handed it over to Lin Long. The elixir can't cure the blood plague, but it can nourish the breath and blood in your body. You should keep it for now. The Si family master asked Si Bai to give her the elixirs for emergency purposes when she left the Lin town. Lin Long took over the elixirs and sighed softly. Thank you if you insist. Then be more cautious. Sure. Yi Qingtang smiled and replied, but she promised to herself that she would not allow Lin Long to suffer from the blood plague. Chapter 224. Yi Qingtang sent Lin Long back to her room. Her brain was filled with thoughts. She did not return to her room and left the place. When Yi Qingtang just stepped out of the pavilion house, Wu Jing appeared at the entrance of the pavilion house. He squinted his eyes as he witnessed Yi Qingtang walking towards the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. There was a complex expression in his eyes. The sky darkened as Yi Qingtang stepped into the bloody Spirit Condensation Mountain Village alone. At dusk, the bloodstains seemed to be shadowed and were more gloomy. In the front yard, crows were landing on the rotten skulls and pecking the flesh. Yi Qingtang's arrival shocked the crows. They chirped and flew away, creating sparkling shadows on the blood stains. The little lightning dragon was disturbed by the sound and stretched out its head. Yi Qingtang gently touched its head and scanned through the gloomy place. A plague might be terrifying for the rest, but it was nothing to her. With the heart of the demon god in her, she was not scared of any filthy and evil things. She would not get infected or hurt by any plague or poison. This might be the greatest gift for Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang only saw the skulls in the front yard during the day. When she walked down the street towards the interior part of the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, she then witnessed how crazy the bloodshed was. The once beautiful mountain village was destroyed by the bloodshed. Corpses could be seen everywhere lying on the ground. There were corpses on the ground with every few steps she took. It seemed to be hell under the dusk. Just as Zhou Xian and the rest discovered, there were no traces of struggling on the corpses. All the corpses lied on the ground flat. It was obvious that they did not die in horror or fear. There was one point that made Yi Qingtang feel peculiar. The murderer seemed to have a weird preference. Besides chopping off all the heads, he splashed the endless blood in the entire mountain village. Every inch of the stone floor was splashed with blood. The whole mountain village was red in color now. Yi Qingtang walked through the hell-like mountain village expressionlessly and scanned through every single corpse. However, she did not notice that there was a pair of eyes in the dark gazing at her secretly. Yi Qingtang wandered around in the mountain village for quite a long time and checked through all the corners. Though the blood was everywhere, there was no single drop of blood at the front and back gates of the mountain village. There was only overflowed blood through the gaps of the gate that exposed the bloodshed in the mountain village. 300 lives were taken here. When night came, the wind howled as the evil spirit screamed beside the ears. Yi Qingtang took a few rounds before stopping beside a young corpse. The corpses did not look old. It belonged to a 4 or 5-year-old child. According to the information written in the files, it was possible that this was Wu Qing's eldest son's child. The cold body lied flat on the stone ground. Yi Qingtang stretched her hands slowly and lifted the child's corpse. She walked to the room at the side and placed the child on the soft mattress. Chapter 225. There were a few toys in the room. Yi Qingtang took a glance at the toys and pinched the child's decayed hand. There was something that sparkled across her eyes, and she then turned to leave the place. When Yi Qingtang just walked out of the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, she suddenly noticed Wu Jing standing outside the gate. She had no idea when he came, but he was holding a torch. His handsome face was visible due to the flame. "Young sir?" Yi Qingtang raised her brows slightly and stared at Wu Jing in surprise. Wu Jing stepped forward and handed over a napkin to her. His eyesight also landed on Yi Qingtang's hand that was stained by blood. "Lady Yi, the blood plague is spreading. You should wipe your hands." Yi Qingtang took over the napkin and cleaned her hands. "Are you not afraid of the blood plague? Why did you still come near to the place?" Yi Qingtang smiled and asked. Wu Jing shook his head. He looked towards the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village under the moonlight. "I would be eaten by the wild beasts in the mountain if father did not save me. No matter how he is now, he is still my father. I was adopted and raised in the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. How can I erase the gratitude?" Yi Qingtang smiled. She felt curious when she saw his expressionless face. She did suspect Wu Zheng, as he would benefit from the tragedy the most. However, she could not see any greed or ambition in the young man's eyes. Either Wu Zheng was really innocent or he hid his intentions very well. "You really value the gratitude, I see. Are you free tonight?" Yi Qingtang asked. "Do you have any orders?" Wu Zheng replied. Yi Qingtang smiled. "Nothing important. Even though I suspected that there was Duanyuan grass on the cliff at the back of the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, I have not seen that with my own eyes, so I can't confirm that. If you are free, follow me to take a look." "Sure." Wu Jing did not hesitate at all. "I shall lead the way." Wu Jing walked to the front. Wu Jing did not put up any guard. Yi Qingtang smiled and followed up. Under the moonlight, the two shadows walked towards the cliff at the back of the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. The sky was completely dark. The moonlight shone on the insignificant flowers at the side of the cliff. The green grass was swinging in the wind, and the wind howled under the cliff. Yi Qingtang stood at the side of the cliff and scanned through the views at the bottom of the cliff. She was soon attracted by a huge stone. On top of the huge stone, there was a small broken stone tablet. The stone tablet seemed to be there for quite a long time and was exposed to rain and wind. The words on the tablet were rubbed off. Wu Zheng was only a few steps behind Yi Qingtang. She was standing at the edge of the cliff. A light push would make her fall into the cliff. Wu Zheng squinted his eyes, and his face was seen under the moonlight and the flame. The innocent and pure face was now replaced by an expression of malice. He lifted his feet slowly and stepped on the soft grass, walking towards Yi Qingtang step by step. His footstep was so light that it could be covered by the sound of the wind, but that little sound was still captured by Yi Qingtang. There was a shade of light sparkling through her eyes. She pretended to not notice anything and continued looking at the bottom of the cliff. Chapter 226 The Night Breeze, which had a faint grass smell, blew into the cliff. Wu Jing stood behind Yi Qingtang silently. His narrowed eyes reflected the image of the tiny girl under the moonlight. She was so thin and tiny. Standing at a dangerous spot, she seemed as if she would fall into the deep abyss with just a light push. Wu Jing raised his hand slowly and quietly stretched out towards Yi Qingtang's back. Right when his fingers touched Yi Qingtang's clothes, he suddenly closed his fingers and violently pulled Yi Qingtang by her clothes backward. "Lord Yi, the wind is strong at night. This place is too dangerous," said Wu Jing after pulling Yi Qingtang a few steps back. Yi Qingtang looked at the good-looking young man before her, and a strange expression appeared in her eyes for a moment. But very quickly she returned to her normal state and smiled. "Thank you. I saw a cracked stone tablet at the bottom of the cliff. Is there someone buried there?" Wu Zheng's eyes dilated a little, but when he looked up, his eyes returned to their original calmness. Foster father had once said that Spirit Condensation Mountain Village was called Juling because this place is rich in spirit energy and full of vitality. It is rumored that thousands of years ago, a demon wreaked havoc and was eliminated by a few mighty figures. Its corpse was then buried in this mountain so it would never be able to escape, as the spirits would suppress its soul. That stone tablet was left behind by the mighty figures who slayed the demon thousands of years ago, though there are many cracks on it now, and the words on it cannot be seen clearly. A demon wreaked havoc. Yi Qingtang looked down and glanced at the broken tablet. Although most of the inscriptions had faded due to the harsh weather, the image of a beast could still be faintly seen on the broken part. However, the cracks were severe, and one could not tell what beast that was exactly. "It is already dark. Lord Yi, you should return," Wu Jing suddenly said. Yi Qingtang smiled and nodded without saying anything and then followed Wu Jing out of the cliff. After Yi Qingtang and Wu Jing left, a pair of ghastly eyes suddenly opened in a hidden cave near the cliff. Wu Jing left after walking Yi Qingtang back to the pavilion. When Yi Qingtang climbed to the second floor, she happened to meet the apothecary, who was going down. Upon seeing Yi Qingtang, the apothecary immediately lowered his head respectfully. "Lord Yi." Yi Qingtang looked at the basin of water in his hands and smiled. "I'll have to trouble you to take care of my senior brothers and senior sister." "Thank you. Don't mention it. They were infected with the blood plague because of Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, and it is only right of me to take care of them. How can this be called troubling me?" "Lord Yi, you are too polite," the apothecary said humbly. Yi Qingtang smiled and took a glance at the apothecary's hands from the corner of her eyes. A smile suddenly appeared in her eyes, and she turned around and walked up without saying anything further. The apothecary carried the basin of water down the stairs. After pouring the water outside the door, he turned around to look at the empty pavilion. Then, the hunchbacked man slowly walked along the roads and entered a small, plain-looking house. In the house, Wu Zheng was sitting at a table without any emotions. His head was hung low, seeming to be in deep thought. When he heard the door opened, he looked up slightly and then looked down again after seeing that it was the apothecary. The apothecary wiped his hands with his back facing Wu Zheng. For a moment, the room was unusually silent. However, after a moment of silence, the apothecary suddenly asked, "What has Lord Yi been busy with at night?" Chapter 227. Wu Zheng looked down and spoke a while later. She went to look at the situation in the mountain village and went to the back of the mountain afterward. Back of the mountain? The apothecary stopped whatever he was doing and turned around immediately. His eyes, which seemed to have been through the vicissitudes of life, sharpened. The night is misty, and the back of the mountain is all steep slopes and cliffs. Lord Yi is young and should be more careful. You must pay attention and not let her be injured. Wu Jing narrowed her eyes and did not reply. The apothecary wiped clean his hands and looked at Wu Zheng's side profile. The expression in the apothecary's eyes changed for a moment as he casually sat down at a side and took a sip of tea. Perhaps I was overly worried. Lord Yi is a sect disciple and is obviously different from us. With her skills, she would not be injured. Why would a noble sect disciple need us, ordinary people, to worry for them? Rather, it is us who would become their burdens in times of danger. A rather husky voice with unclear meanings traveled into Wu Zheng's ears. The moment Wu Zheng heard the word, burdens, his fists on the table were suddenly clenched, and he lowered his head even further. Lord Yi saw the inscription on the tablet at the cliff. The apothecary's eyes changed and turned hazy for a moment. Oh, did she say anything? Wu Zheng replied. That tablet had already been so broken, and the sky is dark. How can she see anything? The apothecary leaned back in his chair and narrowed his eyes. After a sigh, he said bafflingly, "Yeah, it is already dark. Even if something happens, no one would know." Wu Zheng's shoulders stiffened while the apothecary stood up and walked out straight. In the pavilion, Yi Qingtang knocked on Lin Long's door after washing up a little. Lin Long was a little surprised to see Yi Qingtang but let her in without saying anything. "How do you feel, senior sister Lin?" Yi Qingtang asked after entering the room. Lin Long looked at the glaring blood spots on her arm and said calmly, "Nothing unusual." Yi Qingtang slowly sighed in relief. She did not know much about this blood plague. "Senior sister Lin, why were you appointed here with Zhou Xian?" Yi Qingtang asked with a faked casual tone. She already had a guess in her heart, but there was a fatal loophole. Lin Long did not know why Yi Qingtang suddenly asked of this but replied regardless. This mission was instigated by Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian and I did our mission at the same time previously, and according to the calculation, there will only be new sect missions appointed at least half a month later. However, Zhou Xian suddenly requested to accept a sect mission in advance. Thus, this Spirit Condensation Mountain Village mission was appointed to us. Sect missions were appointed at regular time intervals. Zhou Xian accepted a new mission half a month in advance, and subsequently, Lin Long, who completed the previous mission the same time as him, was dragged into this new mission as well. The moment Lin Long finished her sentence, Yi Qingtang suddenly stood up, and a cold light flashed across her eyes. She finally found the reason for the loophole in her guess. If it was really what she guessed, all the Xianling sect disciples in this mission would definitely die without a doubt. But in her previous life, it was already years after the current year when she entered the sect. And at that time, regardless of Zhou Xian or Lin Long, both were still well and alive in the sect. Yi Qingtang could not understand that, but now, everything flowed. Chapter 228. Because of Yi Qingtang's appearance, Zhou Chu was beaten up, and this resulted in Zhou Xian's plan for revenge. And because Zhou Xian wanted to seek revenge on Yi Qingtang, he forcefully brought forward his mission to the time when Yi Qingtang had to accept her first sect mission so as to pull Yi Qingtang into his mission team. If she estimated using the course of events in her previous life, the people who came to Spirit Condensation Mountain Village today would not be Lin Long and Zhou Xian. Thus, Yi Qingtang was able to see them in the sect in her previous life. Along with the change that Yi Qingtang brought about, the wheel of fate started to deviate a little. After understanding this point, Yi Qingtang's mind cleared up. However, she did not even savor this feeling as she immediately walked towards Lin Long and pulled her wrist. Lin Long's face turned pale, and afraid that Yi Qingtang would be infected with the blood plague from touching her, she quickly kept her hands back. However, Senior Sister Lin, everything about Spirit Condensation Mountain Village is a trap. We must leave this place immediately. There was a serious and stern expression on Yi Qingtang's face. Lin Long was shocked. Looking at the solemn Yi Qingtang, Lin Long felt that Yi Qingtang must have discovered a serious clue. Junior Sister Yi, what do you mean by that? There's no time to explain. Senior Sister Lin, leave with me now. The puzzle in Yi Qingtang's mind was resolved with Lin Long's words, but at that very instant, she sensed the intensity of danger here. If they continued staying on, their lives would be in great danger. Lin Long did not know what Yi Qingtang found, but from her instincts, she had an unknowing trust towards this young junior sister. Without saying anything much, she packed her luggage, followed Yi Qingtang out of the room, and headed to the first floor directly. However, Zhou Xian, who just left the room in search of food, happened to see the two anxious people at the staircase. When Zhou Xian saw Yi Qingtang holding onto Lin Long's wrist, a smile flashed across his eyes. Lin Long was already infected with the blood plague, and Yi Qingtang actually dared to touch Lin Long regardless of the danger. She must really find that her life was too long. What are you two so hurriedly off to do? Zhou Xian raised a brow, blocking the entrance to the stairs and looking at Yi Qingtang with a perverse expression. Yi Qingtang looked at Zhou Xian coldly. She had no thoughts of wasting time with this fool at this time. Senior brother Zhou, please move aside, Yi Qingtang said coldly. Zhou Xian, however, did not have any intention of moving away as he said without fear, "Is this the tone you should have when talking to a senior brother?" Yi Qingtang. Zhou Xian still wanted to say something, but Yi Qingtang simply did not have the energy to bother with it. She immediately released her hand which held Lin Long and used it to slap Zhou Xian. In just a moment's time, Zhou Xian had goosebumps all over. Lin Long was infected with the blood plague, and Yi Qingtang actually dared to use the hand which touched Lin Long to hit him. Zhou Xian's face changed drastically as he frantically searched for something on his body while Yi Qingtang used this time to pull Lin Long down the stairs. Zhou Xian took a bottle of elixir out and hurriedly poured everything into his mouth. That was an elixir which could cure all diseases. He spent a large number of Shenming points to exchange for it and was the reason why he dared to stay here. He only had this one elixir and apart from himself, he would not give anyone else. After consuming the elixir, Zhou Xian immediately recalled Yi Qingtang's rude behavior just now, and his face darkened. Then he dashed down the stairs, wanting to settle scores with Yi Qingtang. Chapter 229. But when Zhou Xian chased to the hall on the first floor, he was taken aback. Yi Qingtang and Lin Long were still in the hall and had not left. At the entrance stood the apothecary with many citizens behind him, blocking all the exits. Zhou Xian watched the scene before him and faintly sensed that something was off. "Apothecary, you all are," Zhou Xian said hesitantly. However, that elderly in the hall had lost all previous humility at that time. He stood upright, and a frightening smile hung on his face while the citizens behind him were devoid of emotions. The initial respect and uneasiness were no longer present on the masses' faces, and a violent cold expression similar to that of a wild beast glistened in their eyes. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes. Looking at the group of people that was blocking her way, she tightened her grip on Lin Long's wrist instinctively. The apothecary's eyes were less humble as before and a few shades darker. He sized up Yi Qingtang and the rest with a blood-curdling smile. "Lords, it is so late already. Where are you all going? If there is anything to settle, how about you do it tomorrow?" The apothecary said in a rather unyielding tone. Yi Qingtang looked at the apothecary coldly, and her lips tugged up into a smile. "Village Master Wu, you should tell us the reason for bringing so many people here late at night instead." With that said, the apothecary, Lin Long, and even Zhou Xian, who was behind Yi Qingtang, were instantly shocked to the core. "Village Master Wu? Wu Qingze? What was Yi Qingtang saying?" The smile on the apothecary's face vanished by that way of address. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the stunning young girl before him. "Lord Yi, what are you saying? Why don't I understand?" Yi Qingtang laughed and tilted her head a little. "Village Master Wu, I have to hand it to you for your acting skills. However, you forgot that even if you changed your face, some things would never be changed." As she spoke, her eyes fell on the apothecary's hand that fell by his side. As an apothecary, the perlicue of your hand, however, has such a thick callus. To accumulate such a thick and old callus, one would need at least 10 years of sword practice. "Village Master Wu, you're really too careless." Once Yi Qingtang finished her sentence, the apothecary looked at his hands immediately, and there indeed was an old callus which did not fit his identity as an apothecary. His eyes narrowed, though there was no hint of panic on his face. He looked up and said helplessly, "Although I do not have good enough endowments, I like to practice swordplay to cultivate my character." "Lord Yi, you may have misunderstood." "Misunderstood?" Yi Qingtang raised a brow slightly and smiled. "Then, can you tell me why your grandson's body in Spirit Condensation Mountain Village is so small?" He was a small village master who led a comfortable life but was only skin and bones as though he was from a poor family. He was clearly babed, but why was it that his hands are as rough as that of a servant's? The apothecary's face darkened immediately. Yi Qingtang sneered in her heart, and her eyes sharpened. Village Master Wu, because of your personal greed, you disregarded the lives of the citizens outside Spirit Condensation Mountain Village and used the Duanyuan grass to drug them unconscious to kill them. Then, you pretended to be a person from Spirit Condensation Mountain Village and moved into the village while you all replaced their identities and continued living on. This switching the crown prince with a raccoon slinking move of yours is really cruel and merciless. Chapter 230. The apothecary's face darkened further as his lips curled into a sneer. Lord Yi, you're overthinking. If I were really Village Master Wu, why would I need to kill the surrounding citizens? What benefit will that bring me? Zhou Xian, who had been standing aside all this while, walked towards Yi Qingtang at this time as well. What Yi Qingtang said just now really shocked him. Junior Sister Yi, what the hell are you saying? If you don't dare to investigate on your own, just say it. There's no need to come up with such a ridiculous excuse. The apothecary was Wu Qingze? And he even killed all the citizens nearby and replaced them? What was the intention of reducing himself from a village master to a citizen? He would not do this unless he was crazy. Increasingly, Zhou Xian felt that Yi Qingtang was speaking carelessly and that it was only because she did not dare to investigate the plague-filled corpses. Zhou Xian walked forward and glanced at Yi Qingtang with a belittling expression. Then he was about to say something, but Yi Qingtang gave him a cold glare before he could say anything. Zhou Xian, if you want to die, no one is stopping you. Don't show off your useless brain here. You. Zhou Xian widened his eyes unbelievably as he did not expect Yi Qingtang to speak so rudely to him. It should be known that while he tried making things difficult for Yi Qingtang throughout the journey, she was still very obedient. Why is she acting like a madwoman today? Yi Qingtang, do you know what rubbish are you spouting? You said he is Wu Qingze? But is Wu Qingze crazy or dumb? He gave up his position as a village master to become an ordinary citizen? And he even made a scene of such scale? I think you're the one who is really crazy. Zhou Xian retorted. Yi Qingtang could not be bothered to look at Zhou Xian as she fixed her eyes on the sullen apothecary with a cold smirk. Yeah. He was a village master, and why would he drag his family into pretending as citizens? And then purposely lead us here to investigate the case. I am asking you a question. Why are you asking me back one? Zhou Xian scoffed. Yi Qingtang chuckled as she glanced across the faces of the other somber citizens. Thousands of years ago, there were many sects vying for supremacy, but one sect stood above all. It was the Blood Moon sect. The Blood Moon sect topped the world with its black magic, consuming humans' blood and essence and eating humans' flesh to nourish themselves. They mastered the extreme evil cultivation techniques and raised countless of demonic creatures, causing great chaos. For peace and stability, all the sects and many mighty figures combined forces to exterminate the Blood Moon sect. They did everything to wipe out the Blood Moon sect from the world completely. To prevent the Blood Moon sect from resurrecting, sects and mighty figures joined hands to suppress the soul of the Blood Moon sect's backbones in various areas so that it would never appear in the world again. Then, they incised inscriptions of a sealed soul on the tablet as a mean of suppression. Yi Qingtang spoke clearly, neither fast nor slow, as she recounted the history that had been buried for thousands of years. Zhou Xian frowned and completely did not understand why Yi Qingtang suddenly mentioned the Blood Moon sect, which had been exterminated long ago. However, he did not notice that as Yi Qingtang spoke, the apothecary's face turned from white to black, and an intense murderous look filled his eyes. Yi Qingtang slowly looked up and straight at the apothecary, whose eyes spelled death. At the cliff behind Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, the tablet used to suppress the evil spirit had already broken. The soul which had been sealed for thousands of years required large amounts of essence and blood to make up for its loss. Chapter 231. However, the essence and blood that ordinary people could provide were very limited. If that evil spirit wanted to resurrect quickly, absorbing the essence and blood from cultivators would be the best. Yi Qingtang looked at the apothecary smilingly as she raised her right hand and pointed at her own chest. Her smile was so charming, but it never reached her eyes. Spirit Condensation Mountain Village had attached itself to the Xianling sect for years. If there was a tragic massacre in the mountain village, Xianling sect would definitely send disciples out here to personally investigate. The essence and blood of cultivators like us would be more nourishing than those 300 dead souls. Isn't that right, Village Master Wu? The apothecary narrowed his eyes and did not respond. Zhou Xian faintly sensed a strange atmosphere, and uneasiness crept into him, though he faked a calm front. Junior Sister Yi, the Blood Moon sect has been exterminated for years. Your guess is not enough. However, before Zhou Xian could finish his sentence, the apothecary, who had remained silent all the while, suddenly let out a laugh. I am really surprised there's such an intelligent outer sect disciple in Xianling sect. His laughter was strong and powerful and completely not that of a washed-up old man. The apothecary's hunched back slowly straightened right before Zhou Xian's shocked eyes. I thought you were different since before. It seems now that you're indeed different. You were not shocked by the blood plague and even headed to Spirit Condensation Mountain Village to investigate alone. Yi Qingtang, you're really courageous. The apothecary did not intend to hide any further at that point as he suddenly raised a hand and tore away the human skin mask on his face. Under the disguise, it was really the face of Spirit Condensation Mountain Village's village master, Wu Qingze. With just a look, Zhou Xian's mind buzzed constantly as though it exploded. Never would he have expected that whatever crazy things that Yi Qingtang said would actually be true. Wu Qingze was not dead, and the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village people were not dead as well. They only killed the citizens residing nearby Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, moved their corpses into Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, and pretended to be them. Then, they used the excuse of the extermination of a family to attract Xianling sect disciples here. The truth pounded on Zhou Xian's mind like huge rocks. He simply could not imagine how twisted and insane everything was, and even more so, he could not believe that Yi Qingtang saw through everything in just one day. You shouldn't praise me. Your scheme is very shrewd. The extremely bloody scene in Spirit Condensation Mountain Village really had a terrifying effect. At least, my senior brothers were shocked by the tragedy you constructed and did not even intend to investigate in detail. Yi Qingtang shrugged slightly. The unusually tragic scene in Spirit Condensation Mountain Village had already attracted her attention for a long time. According to her previous reasoning, over 300 people all died in the hands of a familiar person. If it was done by someone they knew, the person would definitely be extremely cautious. Why would the person set the crime scene to be so bloody? All of that was just a deceptive ploy. First, it could cover up the traces of blood when moving the corpses, and second, it was to affect the judgment of others. In such a bloody hell-looking place, how many would be able to check each corpse in detail with a calm heart? Furthermore, with the appearance of the blood plague, you all would have burnt the corpses away if not for senior brother Zhou's evil designs. When all the corpses were burnt, the truth would never be uncovered. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes slightly and fixed them on Wu Qingze after looking past the guilty Zhou Xian. Chapter 232. The citizens residing nearby Spirit Condensation Mountain Village had always treated Spirit Condensation Mountain Village as their protection. Never would they have thought that there would be bits of Duanyuan grass mixed in the tea and snacks that the village sent over as part of the village master's birthday celebration. What the innocent people consumed out of trust was poison that sent them to the netherworld. The moment they were unconscious, they were doomed to die. People said Village Master Wu is kind and compassionate, but unexpectedly, you also have a cruel and evil side to you. Yi Qingtang scoffed. Wu Qingze stared at Yi Qingtang. At that instant, he had no other inhibitions anymore as he lifted his chin slightly and scoffed. Cruel and evil? If not for my Spirit Condensation Mountain Village's protection, they would have died long ago. I raised them for so many years, and so what if I demanded some returns? Wu Qingze did not feel that his actions were cruel at all. He laughed. Yi Qingtang, you're very smart. But too bad, no matter how smart you are, there's no use. Most of your senior brothers are infected with the blood plague already. I planted that blood plague on those bodies a long time ago. The moment you all stepped into Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, it was destined that you all will be unable to leave. The moment Wu Qingze finished his sentence, he suddenly raised a hand, and the group of people behind him drew out their weapons and pointed them straight at Yi Qingtang and the rest. At this moment, Zhou Xian truly realized how dangerous the situation he was in. Spirit Condensation Mountain Village had already laid a trap from the start and planned to use the tragic extermination of the village to lead them over here and offer them to that evil spirit which escaped the suppression. Yi Qingtang, why did you not say earlier since you realized it long ago? Do you want to kill us? Zhou Xian glared furiously at Yi Qingtang, who clearly detected something strange long before then. Yi Qingtang looked at Zhou Xian coldly and sneered in her heart. Even if she said it, would Zhou Xian believe her? Senior sister Lin, follow me closely. Yi Qingtang simply could not be bothered with Zhou Xian, the good-for-nothing. The only person she wanted to protect was Lin Long. Lin Long looked at Yi Qingtang, who was fending her from the front, with a complicated expression. She did not think that the situation would be this dangerous and, even more so, did not expect that. Yi Qingtang, who had seen through everything, actually did not flee for her life alone but returned to escape together with her instead. Yi Qingtang had the chance to leave by herself. Lin Long took a deep breath and grasped the sword on her waist firmly. Thank you, junior sister Yi. Yi Qingtang's lips tugged upwards into a smile and did not say anything. With heightened vigilance, she fixed her eyes on Wu Qingze and the rest who blocked the entrance and searched for a slim chance for survival. And right when a battle was about to ensue, a miserable cry was suddenly heard from the second floor of the pavilion. Zhou Xian was alarmed when he heard that sound. That was junior brother Liu's voice. At the same time, a besotted smile broke out on Wu Qingze's face. He looked at Yi Qingtang and the rest evilly and uttered in almost madness, "Your senior and junior brothers have already become a part of my master. For the resurrection of my sect, all of you can dream on about leaving this place alive." With that said, Wu Qingze led the masses behind him and charged towards Yi Qingtang, Lin Long, and Zhou Xian. A huge battle with a great disparity in numbers between the two parties broke out there and then. In a moment's time, the entire hall of the pavilion was in chaos. Yi Qingtang drew out the sword on her waist and slashed at the oncoming enemies. Standing back to back, she and Lin Long fought against the army of people which swarmed towards them. Chapter 233. Zhou Xian and Lin Long's skills were good and were also above average in the outer sect. However, they did not dare to be careless at that moment. Countering a siege of over 300 people with only 3 people was not a joke. Even they were already breaking out in a cold sweat. Moreover, there seemed to be some frightening evil spirit hidden in the second level. If the evil spirit joined the battle, they would definitely not be able to escape. Lin Long pushed the enemies back while trying to search for an exit at the same time. But what surprised her was, Yi Qingtang's skills were actually not below hers at all. Yi Qingtang's attack was sharp, and although her force was not as fierce as that of Lin Long and Zhou Xian, her moves were fatal. Every attack was accurately aimed and pierced at the enemy's vital points. Her attacks definitely killed the enemy in just one move without leaving them any room for struggle. Based on Yi Qingtang's attack, she completely did not seem like a disciple who just entered the sect. Her sharp moves were as though they were refined from countless battles and were frighteningly murderous. Even Lin Long was shocked by Yi Qingtang's violence at that instant. She never knew that there would be someone whose every move was so fatal and who did not even have the slightest hesitation when killing the enemy. Yi Qingtang did not notice that her moves shocked Lin Long as she merely looked at the onslaught of enemy coldly without any warmth in her eyes. Too slow, really too slow. These people from Spirit Condensation Mountain Village are simply a bunch of useless people. Yi Qingtang cast a cold glance at the few people who sprung on her and suddenly gave a flying kick. The same time when all of them was sent flying away, she lifted her hand and released 3 arrows from her hidden blade which shot right at the throats of the 3 people such that they immediately died when they fell onto the ground. With over 300 people besieging them, Yi Qingtang and the rest actually had not fallen to a disadvantage yet. Witnessing such a scene, Wu Qingze, who was brimming with confidence, felt his expression darken. What is that Yi Qingtang's background? She is clearly the youngest, but why are her attacks so ruthless? Wu Qingze's gaze fell on Yi Qingtang. While Lin Long and Zhou Xian's moves were stable, they simply could not be compared to Yi Qingtang in terms of brutality. Yi Qingtang, who was involved in a fierce battle, was not like a human at all. She was more like a devil out to claim lives. There was no hesitation when she killed, and every move she made was lethal. Wu Qingze narrowed his eyes. From what he saw, the number of people who died in Yi Qingtang's hands was actually way more than the number of people killed by Lin Long and Zhou Xian combined. Just as Wu Qingze was absorbed in his thoughts, another shrill cry was suddenly heard from the second floor. An enormous black shadow slowly appeared on the stairs, and an intense rotting smell filled the entire pavilion thereafter. That was a monster that could not be called human, with rotted flesh stuck all over its body. As it walked down the stairs, the rotted flesh fell beside his feet one by one. In the hands of the monster was a Xianling sect disciple, whose face was a pale white and chest had a hole. The monster was holding on to a beating heart in its hands, and fresh, warm blood was dripping down from its fingers to the stairs. The moment Wu Qingze saw that monster, an almost infatuated admiration filled his eyes. He religiously knelt on the floor in the middle of the battlefield and said loudly, "Welcome, Master." Chapter 234. The huge monster let out a low growl and slowly opened its mouth, revealing a crooked row of teeth that was as sharp as that of a beast's. It raised the hand which held the heart as its scarlet eyes glanced across the dead Xianling sect disciple. Suddenly, it widened its blood-soaked mouth, ripping the fresh heart into pieces and swallowing it down. Blood spurted out and spattered all over the decomposed flesh on its body. It applied force in the hand which held the disciple, and its 5 fingers pierced the disciple's flesh, penetrating through his body which was still warm. In the blink of an eye, the disciple's flesh shriveled rapidly at a visible speed, and his body turned into a horrifying dried corpse. After swallowing the heart and absorbing the essence, there was a tiny change to the monster's body. The rotting flesh all over its body dropped to its feet in chunks, and its blood-stained hands were gradually covered by new flesh. Zhou Xian stared at the monster which suddenly appeared and trembled in fear uncontrollably. What exactly is this? What kind of scary monster did Spirit Condensation Mountain Village revive? At that instant, Zhou Xian clearly felt a sense of fear creeping from the bottom of his heart. What is that? Lin Long's eyes widened in disbelief as she watched the monster that was similar to a decomposed body. That thing was way beyond her knowledge. It is an evil spirit. After kicking the oncoming enemies away, Yi Qingtang glanced across at the evil spirit which was in the process of resurrection. The evil spirit buried under Juling Mountain was originally a member of the Blood Moon sect. The evil cultivation technique which they cultivated allowed them to offer souls to the evil god, thus obtaining almost immortality. The evil spirit had already swallowed the vitality of the over 300 people outside Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, and now it absorbed the essence of 2 sect disciples consecutively. Yi Qingtang's chest tightened. Her current skills were simply not enough to fight against such a powerful evil spirit. "Senior Sister Lin, we must fight our way out. Otherwise, we will end up in the same state as Senior Brother Lin," Yi Qingtang muttered. Lin Long's forehead was long covered with cold sweat. After sucking dry the essence of the disciple in its hand, the evil spirit threw the shriveled, dried corpse aside, and its scarlet eyes were already fixed on them. Lin Long's grip on the sword tightened. For the sake of survival, she could only risk her life and fight it tooth and nail. Yi Qingtang and Lin Long joined hands, and with such cooperation, they slowly moved towards the exit of the hall. However, the evil spirit had already walked down the stairs and was walking towards where they were at. As the evil spirit descended from the stairs, respect filled Wu Qingze's eyes. He knelt on the floor devotedly and bowed at the nauseating evil spirit in worship while singing praises. "Master, please accept the strength that we have offered. May this allow you to resurrect." Yi Qingtang looked at Wu Qingze from the corner of her eyes, and her eyes sharpened for a moment. She immediately gave Lin Long a look. Understanding Yi Qingtang's intention, Lin Long executed quick moves with her sword while Yi Qingtang used this time when Lin Long was holding back the masses to dart to the back of Wu Qingze. Before Wu Qingze could react, Yi Qingtang grabbed Wu Qingze by his hair, lifting him up violently, and then held her blood-stained sword against his neck. Chapter 235. Wu Qingze was still absorbed in the evil spirit's resurrection, but the infatuated expression on his face turned into a terrified one when he was suddenly in Yi Qingtang's hands. "Stop!" Yi Qingtang shouted coldly. Only then did everyone in the battle notice that Yi Qingtang actually held Wu Qingze in her hands without their knowledge. In just a moment, everyone in Spirit Condensation Mountain Village stopped their attack. Yi Qingtang watched everyone vigilantly as the sword that she held against Wu Qingze's neck remained glued on his skin. "Let's leave, Senior Sister Lin," Yi Qingtang said while looking straight ahead. Lin Long took a deep breath and rushed to Yi Qingtang's side. On the other hand, Zhou Xian took this opportunity to dash over and even fled out of the door without waiting for Yi Qingtang at all. Lin Long glared at Zhou Xian's back view, and disgust emerged in her eyes. "Ignore him," Yi Qingtang muttered after sensing Lin Long's disgust. She had no energy to bother with that idiot, Zhou Xian now. "Don't let them leave. Leave me alone. I have given my everything to my master. If I can die for master, it will be my greatest honor." Suddenly, completely unafraid of Yi Qingtang's threats, Wu Qingze, who was under Yi Qingtang's control, gave a shocking declaration loudly. Everyone from Spirit Condensation Mountain Village was taken aback, and before they could react, Yi Qingtang suddenly raised her hand and stabbed it right in Wu Qingze's temple fiercely. Fresh blood gushed out. Wu Qingze lost all consciousness in a moment and passed out. Yi Qingtang lifted the unconscious Wu Qingze away and scoffed while looking up at the masses. "Village Master Wu is really devout. However, if you all want him to die in front of you, you can continue," Yi Qingtang said calmly. No one knew, she was also taking a gamble. An evil spirit which just resurrected was not too agile in his movements, and if they escaped now, they still had a chance of survival. Wu Qingze's infatuation with the Blood Moon sect shocked Yi Qingtang. However, she had no choice but to take a gamble. She could only gamble with Wu Qingze's life and see whether the people in Spirit Condensation Mountain Village were as crazy as him. And this time, Yi Qingtang won the gamble. After seeing Yi Qingtang knock Wu Qingze out, everyone from Spirit Condensation Mountain Village had an angry and fearful expression, but no one dared to step forward. Yi Qingtang's lips curled into a smile. Nodding at Lin Long, both of them dragged the unconscious Wu Qingze as they walked out. The people from Spirit Condensation Mountain Village did not dare to follow too closely and could only watch Yi Qingtang and Lin Long leave the hall step by step. However, watching its offerings leaving gradually, the evil spirit in the hall suddenly let out a shrill cry. The sound was extremely piercing, and as it growled, huge blood fog spat out from its mouth which filled the entire hall. Along with the air, the blood fog was sucked into everyone's lungs. In just a flash, the people who took a breath of the blood fog felt that all blood was drained instantly. Everyone's complexion turned strangely pale while their clear eyes were covered by a layer of haze. All the people from Spirit Condensation Mountain Village felt a tremor throughout their body, and in the next second, they chased out with a howl like zombies that had lost all rationality. Chapter 236, Zombies, 2. Yi Qingtang and Lin Long just left the pavilion but suddenly saw that the Spirit Condensation Mountain Village people had turned extremely crazy and were chasing after them. What's going on? Do they not care about Wu Qingze's life already? Lin Long widened her eyes as she looked at the group of people that charged towards them powerfully in the night. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes and glanced across their bodies. A stern expression flashed across her eyes. The essence of the people from Spirit Condensation Mountain Village had all been sucked by the evil spirit. Now, they are merely zombies that only know how to attack. When Yi Qingtang started speaking, she immediately sent Wu Qingze flying out with a kick. Wu Qingze was useless already. Terror filled Lin Long. While she had heard of evil spirits, she had absolutely zero understanding about such evil monsters that exist in legends. "Go!" Yi Qingtang did not dare to waste any time as she grabbed Lin Long's wrist and fled rapidly. Spirit Condensation Mountain Village does not pledge loyalty to evil spirits, but why? Lin Long's face had already lost all color. Yi Qingtang's eyes rapidly searched for an exit in the dark as she replied. Since it is an evil spirit, how would it understand anything about pity? The Spirit Condensation Mountain Village people are all a group of idiots. How was completely resurrecting the evil spirit such an easy thing? By pledging loyalty to an evil spirit, they will only die sooner or later. Forming an alliance with evil spirits was the most foolish thing to do in this world. Lin Long was astonished but knew that they could not afford any delays at that instant and thus quickly looked for an escape route with Yi Qingtang. Behind them, hundreds of zombies chased after them with loud growls, turning the silent forest into hell. Their shrilling roars were like a nightmare that quietly descended, causing the beasts in the forest to take flight in fear. Yi Qingtang pulled Lin Long to flee at top speed. Although the combat power of zombies was not strong, the evil spirit behind them would chase up once they were entangled with the zombies, and there would be no chance of escaping by then. Over there! Yi Qingtang saw a stable not far away and sprinted over with Lin Long. There were 2 horses in the stable. As though sensing danger, the horses became uneasy and neighed in fear. Just when Yi Qingtang and Lin Long was about to get on the horse, the zombies had already pounced on them. Yi Qingtang immediately waved a hand, beheading the zombies while cutting off the string that tied the horses into the stable at the same time. Go! With a shout, Yi Qingtang and Lin Long dashed out on their horses. The horses neighed and lifted their hoofs, crushing the heads of a few zombies. Blood sputtered out in the dim night. Yi Qingtang and Lin Long did not dare to stop and immediately rode out at top speed. However, just as they were about to leave the stable, Zhou Xian, who escaped 1 step earlier, suddenly flew towards them and stabbed through Lin Long's shoulder with his sword. When Lin Long fell off the horse from the pain, Zhou Xian immediately got on Lin Long's horse and fled. Zhou Xian! Death filled Yi Qingtang's eyes. When she saw Lin Long falling off from the horse, Yi Qingtang did not hesitate at all and instantly jumped down from the horse which was galloping madly, catching Lin Long and tumbling on the ground with Lin Long in her arms. Looking at Zhou Xian's gradually disappearing back view, she flashed a murderous expression in her eyes. She lifted her arm in a flash, and an arrow from her hidden blade shot right at Zhou Xian's back. Zhou Xian's shoulder was suddenly shot, and he fell off the horse. In the dark night, the horses ran away after sensing danger, and the last chance to escape was lost just like that. How Yi Qingtang wished she could twist Zhou Xian's neck until it broke. Chapter 237, Junior Sister Yi, leave now. Just ignore me already. Lin Long held onto her shoulder which was trickling with blood as sweat dripped from her face in pain. She held the excruciating pain back and touched Yi Qingtang's shoulder. Yi Qingtang and she were not close, but Yi Qingtang actually chose to stay and protect her in such a hopeless situation. Shock filled Lin Long's heart. She never knew that there would actually be such a foolish person on earth. Even that piece of trash Zhou Xian knew how to save his life, yet Yi Qingtang chose to stay when she clearly had a chance to escape. So stupid. So foolish. But these made her tremble uncontrollably. Yi Qingtang saw the determination in Lin Long's eyes, but Yi Qingtang felt another kind of resolution. In her previous life, she swallowed humiliation in order to survive and hid from place to place. So many times she had personally witnessed those who cared for her being killed right before her eyes. In her previous life, she escaped too many times, but in this life she would definitely not leave any friend behind. Yi Qingtang suddenly smiled. In such a dire situation, under the moonlight, she smiled. Senior Sister Lin, from the day I entered the sect, I remembered this one sect rule. Yi Qingtang helped Lin Long up slowly and grasped her sword tightly as she looked at the onslaught of zombies. We must not leave any disciple behind. Must not. An intense murderous expression filled Yi Qingtang's eyes. If she abandoned the people she treasured, what right did she have to seek revenge on Yi Yu? Lin Long looked at Yi Qingtang's side profile in shock as her heart that had been frozen for years suddenly felt a warmth like never before. A lump formed in her throat, and her eyes reddened instantly. Well said. If we can get through this calamity, we will. Before Lin Long could finish her sentence, the zombies had already reached them. Even though they were facing a hopeless situation, the two strong-willed girls did not give up on any slightest chance to escape. Their swords gleamed in the moonlight. In that dark night, the swords in Yi Qingtang and Lin Long hands danced to the sound of death, composing a life anthem that belonged to only the two of them. The little black ball snuggling in Yi Qingtang's heart, feeling a strong sense of crisis, suddenly broke free of its constraint and rushed into the little lightning dragon's body. Lend me your body. I want to protect my mother and not allow anyone to harm her. A piercing dragon roar suddenly sounded. A beam of light shone out from Yi Qingtang's chest and shot towards those zombies. Lin Long was a little shocked to see that light while a smile broke out on Yi Qingtang's face at that instant. Little fella, you're finally willing to move. The little dragon man appeared in the night all of a sudden. However, at that moment, there was not a slight trace of a smile on its soft and supple face. Death filled its icy cold eyes. It had a tiny frame, but it blocked in front of Yi Qingtang like an insurmountable mountain. Anyone who harms my mother shall die. A cold declaration with frightening power escaped from its tiny mouth. It would do whatever it could to kill anyone who dared to touch its mother and slaughter out a path for its mother. A strong force spread throughout the little dragon's force. It suddenly leaped up, and the scales on its tail glistened in the moonlight. Turning into a deadly bolt of light, it plunged into the group of zombies. Chapter 238. The little dragon man's appearance turned the tables completely. Its tiny frame possessed a destructive force, and the zombies died instantly when the dragon man passed by them. Lin Long looked in shock at the little fellow that suddenly appeared, and goosebumps rose all over her body when she saw its extremely brutal attacks. Junior sister Yi, that is? Lin Long looked at Yi Qingtang. If she did not see wrongly, that little thing seemed to have jumped out from Yi Qingtang's chest. Furthermore, that little fellow even called junior sister mother. Yi Qingtang chuckled and did not know how to explain to Lin Long, but she quietly let out a relieved sigh. This little fellow was always so listless on usual days, but at critical times, it was still reliable. Senior sister Lin, don't care about that. Eat this elixir first. Yi Qingtang took out a bottle of elixir and fed Lin Long. Lin Long was infected with the blood plague and even suffered a sneak attack from Zhou Xian. If she did not stop the bleeding, her life would be in danger. Lin Long nodded slightly and swallowed the elixir gratefully. The little dragon man killed all the zombies without restraint and returned all the oppression Yi Qingtang felt previously, multiplied. Just when Yi Qingtang was trying to search for a chance to bring Lin Long out from the battlefield, a powerful force suddenly descended in their surrounding. After being pestered by the zombies, the enormous evil spirit already neared Yi Qingtang and Lin Long. Its scarlet eyes filtered the wild battle out as it glared right at Yi Qingtang. Its blood-stained mouth moved a little, giving out a screeching cry. Sensing danger immediately, Yi Qingtang looked up and saw the evil spirit from not far away. Her heart stopped. When the evil spirit tried to approach them, the little dragon man broke a zombie's neck and lunged to the front of Yi Qingtang, coming face to face with that evil spirit. Quickly leave, mother. I will hold it back. At this instant, the little dragon was no longer as presumptuous as before. It fixed its eyes on each and every movement of the evil spirit, and panic rose within it. It was temporarily using the lightning dragon's body, but the lightning dragon was still very young and was simply unable to hold all of the little black ball's power. Being restrained in the body of the lightning dragon, the little black ball could not unleash its real combat power, but it felt a deadly threat from the evil spirit before it. This was not what it could deal with right now using the little lightning dragon's body. If it had a real body, whatever evil spirits, they were nothing to it. But now, it could not. What was more critical was, what a resurrecting evil spirit needed the most was vital essence, and the heart of the demon god in Mother's body could be said to be the greatest temptation to all evil spirit creatures in the world. If the heart of the demon god were to be swallowed, the evil spirit would obtain power as mighty as that of an evil god. Yi Qingtang heard the nervousness in the little dragon man's tone clearly, and the expression in her eyes completely changed. She protected the injured Lin Long while tightening her grip on her sword. The evil spirit's eyes wavered between the little dragon man and Yi Qingting. Evidently having sensed the two powerful offerings, its eyes glistened with greed and savagery as it suddenly raised a hand, releasing a blood-scented smoke. The little dragon man's face paled. With a jump, it used its body to block the attack of the blood-scented smoke. But this attack caused tiny cracks to appear on the little dragon man's face, and a black fog slowly escaped through the cracks. This is bad. The little dragon man was startled. If its aura was scattered, its power would subsequently disappear from the little lightning dragon's body. Chapter 239. Yi Qingtang's heart suddenly wrenched when she saw the cracks on the little dragon man's face. Her expression turned cold, and with a nod at Lin Long, she drew out her sword and walked forward. As the little dragon man was still panicking over how to deal with the evil spirit, it suddenly saw a figure appearing behind it. It looked up and saw Yi Qingtang was actually wielding a sword and standing behind it since God knows when. Mother, the little dragon man widened its eyes in shock, and fear appeared in its eyes for the first time. Mother, leave now. I can hold it back. Hurry. However, Yi Qingtang shook her head at the little dragon man and smiled. Since you call me mother, which mother in this world would abandon her own child and flee for her own life? Her faint smile was imprinted in the little dragon man's heart. It was beautiful and moving. It felt something tugging on its heartstrings, something it had never felt before. The little dragon man only felt a warmth and an unfamiliar thing filling its eyes constantly. Drip drop. A warm sensation slid out from the corner of its eyes. It looked in shock at the liquid that dripped down its cheeks and was at a loss. What was that? Right? How could it be? It was only a consciousness born out of the heart of the demon god. How could it cry? I will fight together with you, okay? Yi Qingtang looked at the crying little dragon man and patted its head with a smile. The little dragon man was stunned as it nodded absent-mindedly. It lowered his head, and while its eyes were brimming with tears, the sharp and determined expression in its eyes was never erased. It must protect its mother well. Watching the little dragon man's resolute back view, warmth surged within Yi Qingtang. If in the future she really had a child, and if her child was like this little dragon man, she was really expectant. However, looking at the evil spirit which was a few steps away, Yi Qingtang's eyes sharpened. All warmth faded completely, and death filled her eyes. Presently, this evil spirit must be killed off first. The evil spirit saw the two offerings before it and let out a shrilling cry before lunging towards Yi Qingtang and the little dragon man with its blood-stained mouth wide open. Yi Qingtang took a deep breath, lifted her sword, and charged forward together with the little dragon man. Right when they were about to exchange blows, a strong repressive force like nothing before suddenly enveloped the entire mountain forest. Countless birds shrieked and soared into the sky. The greedy evil spirit suddenly felt a force which elicited fear in it and immediately stopped in its tracks. In the next second, a tall figure suddenly descended in the moonlight of which casted a dreamlike glow around his body. That man stood in front of Yi Qingtang and the little dragon man. His large and tall back was like the strongest, indestructible mountain in the world. Upon seeing the person's face, the evil spirit trembled severely without control. For the first time, it looked fearful and actually lowered his head and back, retreating backward step by step. Yi Qingtang looked shockingly at the tall figure that appeared before her eyes all of a sudden. Under the moonlight, the person seemed to be a god from heaven who was filled with holiness and power which no one dared to infringe. Get lost. A piercing, cold voice reverberated throughout the mountain village. The enormous evil spirit trembled in fear. Bending down humbly, it retreated slowly as though the owner of that was someone who could destroy everything in the world. Chapter 240. An extremely cold voice suddenly knocked onto her heart. This voice is so familiar. Yi Qingtang was slightly astonished. This voice obviously belonged to the person whom Mu Su brought her to meet that day. Watching the evil spirit retreating away cowardly, Yi Qingtang felt a complicated and indescribable feeling. That evil spirit wanted to suck my mother's blood and essence just now. You must not let it off. Upon seeing the familiar back view, The little dragon man was suddenly energetic as it jumped out to lodge a complaint without caring about the crack on its face. A murderous air surrounded the tall man instantly, and the evil spirit suddenly felt an overpowering force directed towards him. He clearly did not move at all, but an overpowering force was instantaneously emitted from the man. All of a sudden, an invisible airstream rammed against the evil spirit's chest. In that instant, a hole was penetrated in the evil spirit's chest, and before it could even let out a cry, it fell on the ground. Such a powerful evil spirit was, however, killed by that man without effort. After witnessing everything, Yi Qingtang was alarmed as she was even more certain of her guess on the man's identity. In the whole world, who else could possess such unbelievably godly powers other than that person from the Antiquity Palace? The evil spirit was already dead, but Yi Qingtang could not feel any better. How she wished she could stuff the little dragon man in her arms and cover its mouth, which brought trouble. Oh, my little brat. This was not someone you can order around freely, but someone who your mother, needed to avoid. Yi Qingtang saw the lifeless evil spirit on the floor, and her heart quivered. She instinctively touched her chest, deeply afraid that the man would beat her to a pulp once he turned around and realized she had the heart of the demon god hidden in her body. However, the more she feared, the more her fears became true. When Yi Qingtang was filled with worries, the man suddenly turned around and looked at her. Under the moonlight, his exquisitely handsome appearance fell into Yi Qingtang's eyes. On his cold face laid a set of eyes so deep that one could drown in it. Yi Qingtang was stunned. Previously, she only heard the person's voice and never thought that such an unrivaled, handsome face was hidden behind that layer of curtains. In both lives, Yi Qingtang self-professed that she had seen many pretty boys, but none of them could be compared to this person before her. How could there be a man so good-looking? Yi Qingtang was actually a little dumbfounded at the moment. Han Songming looked at the young girl who blanked out as his deep eyes reflected her beautiful face. At that very instant, the little dragon man could not be bothered with its injuries. Just from watching its mother and would-be father making eye contact, it wagged its tail agitatedly. Would-be father, you are too amazing. No one can beat you at saving a damsel in distress. Quick, give mother an affectionate hug. Kiss her. Kiss her now. Carry her home. Make a baby with her. The little dragon man was so excited that its tail wagged continuously and excited tiny stars dotted his widened eyes. Perhaps it was because the little dragon man's reaction was too extreme. Yi Qingtang returned to her senses and immediately took a step back after recalling the person's identity and considering the heart of the demon god in her body. Chapter 241. Yi Qingtang's action caused Han Kangming's eyes to flicker. His beautiful brows furrowed a little when he saw the girl's fearful behavior. She's afraid of him? But thank you for saving us today, senior. Yi Qingtang lowered her head and tried to reduce her presence. Han Songming, said Han Songming suddenly. Yi Qingtang was astounded. Was not Han Songming the palace lord of Antiquity Palace? Her guess was indeed right. Lin Long, who was standing from a side, was shaken to the core when she heard the words, Han Songming. Han Songming. That was actually Han Songming. The person who saved them was actually the palace lord of Antiquity Palace. She simply did not dare to believe that the legendary supreme figure in Antiquity Palace actually appeared in front of her and even rescued her and junior sister Yi. Lin Long even almost suspected whether she was hallucinating from the pain of the blood plague. All of this was too much of a fantasy. My name. Han Songming could not help but say when he saw that Yi Qingtang was still like a frightened little rabbit. Yi Qingtang's lips twitched a little. Of course she knew that it was his name, but why was he saying his name here? Who knows whether Han Songming had discovered the heart of the demon god in her? Great powerful person, I know you are the most powerful person on earth. Please let my heart off. Yi Qingtang had a mental breakdown but did not show any of it on her face and could only say humbly, I seek your forgiveness for being unaware of your arrival. I am unable to return your kindness for saving us today, but I will remember it for the rest of my life. For the first time, Yi Qingtang realized had such a suck-up side to her. It was not that she was too weak but that the opposing partner was too powerful. She had no choice but to chicken out. She just escaped a wolf's lair one moment ago and entered a tiger's den in the next. Her heart was already flooded with tears from a long time ago. If Han Sangming discovered the heart of the demon god, her only fate was death even if she grew 2 more legs. Han Sangming looked down at the person who was only at his chest level. Her cautious behavior and the girl who touched him carelessly all over in Xianling sect on normal days were completely 2 different people. The mountain forest was unusually silent in the dark night. The zombies that had not been killed sensed Han Kangming's power and laid on the floor, shivering, not daring to move. A cold night breeze brushed past them. The unusual silence almost suffocated Yi Qingtang. There was no way for her to find out whether Han Sangming discovered the heart of the demon god in her heart. If he did not, why would a person with such a noble identity like him keep staring at her like this? And just at that moment, Han Sangming, who remained silent all along, suddenly opened his mouth. "Since you're unable to repay my kindness." Yi Qingtang looked up slightly and at the beautiful godlike face in confusion. Indifference was etched on Han Kangming's face, and his lowered eyes reflected Yi Qingtang's bewildered face. Han Sangming said slowly in a cold tone, "Then marrying me will do." Lin Long stared at the man. "What did I hear?" Yi Qingtang also blanked out. In just a moment, Yi Qingtang was stunned and rooted to the ground as though she was struck by lightning. She widened her eyes in disbelief. "What did he say? Marry him? Was he blind or was she deaf?" "Your Highness, isn't this joke of yours is too big already?" Chapter 242. Yi Qingtang was utterly dumbfounded as she stood rooted to the ground in a trance. Looking at the emotionless Han Sangming, she almost began to suspect whether that statement was really said by this man, who had abstinence written all over his face. "Your Highness what did you say?" Yi Qingtang seriously suspected that she was hallucinating because she was too nervous in the battle just now. "Marry me," Han Sangming repeated in a rare case of good temper. Yi Qingtang felt that she was going to faint. The Palace Lord of Antiquity Palace wanted her to marry him. "Your Highness, how hard are you on yourself?" Yi Qingtang instinctively turned around to look at Lin Long, who had long frozen at the spot. At that instant, Lin Long felt that the entire world crashed internally. She looked at the horrified Yi Qingtang and then at the indifferent Han Sangming, and then silently lowered her head, choosing to ignore Yi Qingtang's eyes which pleaded for help. "Junior sister Yi, it's not that I don't want to help you. It's just that this person is a really big shot." Lin Long never expected for things to develop in such a strange direction. There was not one person who did not know about Han Sangming. In this world, no one could come close to him, and even the sect master of Xianling sect had to give Han Sangming a full bow should they meet. But it was this godlike person who came so unexpectedly. This was a blessing of several lifetimes for others. However, just by looking at her junior sister's anguished expression, Lin Long sensed with certainty the mental breakdown of Yi Qingtang. Despite that, she still had no choice. That was Han Sangming. The legendary noble and aloof palace lord who was a paragon actually asked her junior sister to marry him. Lin Long's views were all crumbled. After seeking help but to no avail, Yi Qingtang almost went insane internally. Before she managed to turn around, she suddenly saw a shadow looming over her surroundings, blocking the moonlight and enveloping her tiny frame in it. Yi Qingtang turned around swiftly and met with Han Kangming's beautiful eyes that were just a few inches away from her. Her body froze, and her heart was in her mouth instantly. She instinctively wanted to take a step backward, but after meeting Han Kangming's deep eyes, it was as though roots grew from her feet, planting her right into the ground without any ability to move. The little dragon man from his side looked on the intimate interaction between its would-be father and mother with eager eyes and wagged its tail crazily. Mwax 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 mwax. It puckered its lips anxiously, and its eyes twinkled as it watched the two people who gradually got closer. It almost dashed forward to knock Yi Qingtang and Han Kangming's head together for them to have a heated kiss. Yi Qingtang saw the little dragon man's expression and really wanted to slap this reckless little fellow to the ground. "Wax your head. So much for calling me your mother. Don't you know there's a lethal heart of the demon god in your mother's body?" What is this Han Kangming's identity? It was the orthodox paragon. If the heart of the demon god was discovered, you can just wait to bawl your eyes out at my funeral. God knows how much Yi Qingtang wanted to escape right now and stay away from Han Songming, this dangerous person, as far as possible. Marry him? Impossible, all right. Han Songming looked at Yi Qingtang's dodging expression, and his brows gathered to a slight frown. That small reaction from Han Songming fell into Yi Qingtang's eyes, and she broke out in a cold sweat from fear. Ordinary people did not even have a chance to see Han Songming, but she actually dared to ignore Han Kangming's request to marry him. Chapter 243. I am overwhelmed by your kind favor. Yi Qingtang summoned her courage and said hurriedly, afraid that Han Songming would kill her like how he killed the evil spirit just now if he was unhappy. Overwhelmed by his kind favor? Han Songming raised a brow as he looked at Yi Qingtang, who clearly only had overwhelmed written on her face. He narrowed his eyes as a light darted across them. Should he dive straight in? Or advance gradually in proper sequence? After remaining silent for a while, Han Songming suddenly took a step back and saw Yi Qingtang secretly heaving a sigh of relief. But before she could even let out that sigh, Han Songming suddenly stretched out a hand and held onto Yi Qingtang's right hand. Goosebumps stood all over, and her body stiffened without daring to even look up. Did he discover it? However, Han Songming removed a ring on his finger and put it onto Yi Qingtang's fair finger without hesitation. The moment the slightly large ring was worn on Yi Qingtang's finger, it suddenly shrank in size, fitting on her finger tightly. You can consider it. Afterward, Han Songming released Yi Qingtang's hand. Yi Qingtang was utterly stunned as though a bolt of lightning struck her, and her eyes stared right at the ring that was forcefully put on her finger. She did not know what material was that ring made of either. It was a silvery white ring with tiny, obscure ancient patterns carved on it. Han Songming did not say anything further and left. They would meet very quickly. He was not in a hurry. Just as when he came, the tall figure turned into a beam of light and instantly vanished before her eyes, leaving a trembling Yi Qingtang alone at the sight of that ring. Upon the dragon seeing that its would-be father leave just like this, it was as though a cold bucket of water was poured over the little dragon man's excited face, replacing it with an expression full of despair. Would-be father, why did you leave already? Even if you leave, you should bring mother away with you. Junior sister Yi? After Han Songming left, Lin Long finally dared to walk to Yi Qingtang's side. Lin Long looked at the ring on Yi Qingtang's finger and was stunned. Is this a love token that His Highness Han Songming gave you? Yi Qingtang looked up and stared at Lin Long with a frightened expression. After taking a deep breath, she immediately lifted a hand to take the ring out. What love token? How can it be? To no avail, Yi Qingtang used all her strength, but it was as if that ring was grown on her finger and did not move at all. Was this forcing her to chop off her hand? Yi Qingtang wanted to cry. What was Han Songming cursed with? Lin Long could not help but laugh when she saw Yi Qingtang's helpless expression. In this whole world, probably only you will avoid Han Kangming's favor like a plague. Favor? What the hell? Yi Qingtang's expression darkened further. If she were an ordinary girl, she would definitely be on cloud nine to meet such a powerful person like Han Songming and even be able to ride on his coattails. But she had the heart of the demon god in her body. No matter what, Yi Qingtang would not forget how many assassinations she faced in her previous life from the people on the Orthodox because of that heart of the demon god. Now that she crossed paths with the leader of the Orthodox, she only felt that her time was up. Senior sister, stop making fun of me already. Yi Qingtang suppressed her inner turmoil and looked around the messy surroundings. The evil spirit was already shot dead by Han Songming, but those zombies were not completely exterminated. Without the evil spirit's orders, they were like headless flies that remained at the spot blankly. Chapter 244. We can't stay here for long. Let's leave now. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes slightly and carried the depressed little dragon man in her arms. Looking at its eyes just now, she almost thought that this little fellow would chase after Han Songming and leave with him. It was clearly raised by her, but why was it so close to Han Songming, whom it met for the first time? Yi Qingtang could not understand the reason but could only treat it as the dragon species' fondness for powerful people. Lin Long nodded. After walking a few meters, they suddenly saw Zhou Xian, who was shot by Yi Qingtang and fell to the ground. Zhou Xian was unlucky too. Other than being shot in his shoulder, his head actually hit a rock when he fell from the horse, knocking him out immediately. Yi Qingtang cast a look at Zhou Xian and then walked away, pretending as though she had not seen anything. Junior sister Yi? Lin Long was rather confused when she saw Yi Qingtang walking away. According to the sect rules, whatever Zhou Xian did previously was enough for him to be kicked out of Xianling sect, but why did Yi Qingtang not do anything? Yi Qingtang stopped in her tracks and looked at Lin Long with smiling eyes. Senior sister Lin, do you know why the Orthodox is so fearful of the Blood Moon sect's evil spirits? Lin Long shook her head. Yi Qingtang looked down at the unconscious Zhou Xian, and a murderous look flashed across her eyes. Because the evil cultivation techniques of the Blood Moon sect could allow the spirits to achieve immortality. Even if the Blood Moon sect were exterminated and the sect members were killed initially, their souls would not disappear. Thus, the Orthodox had to seal their souls. However, they still had a possibility of resurrection centuries later. Then Yi Qingtang pointed at the evil spirit on the floor and said, although the evil spirit seems to be killed, it will never disappear. A while later, it will regain consciousness, and at that time, it will naturally need great amounts of spirit energy to nourish itself. Yi Qingtang only talked briefly, but the realization hit Lin Long instantly. Looking at Zhou Xian on the ground, Lin Long understood Yi Qingtang's intention and left together with Yi Qingtang without saying anything more. Yi Qingtang did not have any deep grudges with the evil spirit. In her previous lifetime, the so-called Orthodox was the one who drove her to desperation. Thus, she had no interest in participating in the Blood Moon sect affairs. Moreover, her current abilities were not enough to destroy the evil spirit. Luckily, she was able to sit out and reap the spoils later. What was important now was to bring Lin Long back to the sect as soon as possible and eliminate the blood plague in her body. Yi Qingtang and Lin Long left. Under the moonlight, the area around Spirit Condensation Mountain Village was desolate. Zombies that had lost all directions and orders stood at the same spot unsteadily. However, someone appeared silently. Watching Yi Qingtang leave, there seemed to be a slight change in Wu Zheng's expression. However, he quickly looked away and found the unconscious Wu Qingze in the mess and poured a bottle of elixir into his mouth. When Wu Qingze was awake, he saw that all his relatives had turned into zombies. Yet, there was not a slight trace of pain in his eyes as he frantically searched for the evil spirit. Master! Madness filled Wu Qingze's face when he saw the evil spirit that collapsed on the ground. Wu Jing watched coldly from aside. His face remained emotionless as he looked at how Wu Qingze was completely unbothered about the lives of all his relatives. Very quickly, Wu Qingze spotted the unconscious Zhou Xian from not far away, and an evil glimmer appeared in his eyes. Go! Bring that sect disciple over here. Master needs nourishment from essence. Chapter 245. Yi Qingtang brought Lin Long back to Xianling sect hurriedly. Luckily, Yi Qingtang had many elixirs on hand, which helped Lin Long pull through all the way until they reached the sect. Only after Yi Qingtang brought Lin Long to receive treatment did Yi Qingtang finally sigh in relief. She was about to report this mission to the outer sect warden but suddenly saw someone standing under a tree not far away suspiciously and peeping at her. Yi Qingtang raised a brow. Looking at the familiar figure, Yi Qingtang folded her arms and said, "Senior brother Qin." A chill ran down Qin Huan's spine as he shifted out from the spot while holding onto a string that was pulling onto something behind the tree. Junior sister Yi, you're back so early?" Qin Huan laughed stiffly. He just received news that Yi Qingtang returned to the sect and thus came over cautiously. Yet, before he was able to mentally prepare himself, Yi Qingtang saw him. Yi Qingtang raised her eyebrows and narrowed her eyes at Qin Huan's extremely unnatural expression, which gave her a bad feeling. "Senior brother Qin, where's my wolf?" Yi Qingtang asked. In just a moment, Qin Huan's hair stood on end, and he forcefully squeezed out a smile that was uglier than a cry on his attractive face. "Oh, that silver wolf, it's still here. I fed it very well. Don't worry, Qin Huan said guiltily. Yi Qingtang did not say anything, but her eyes sharpened. Under Yi Qingtang's stare, Qin Huan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and tugged on the string in his hand in extreme reluctance, pulling the certain creature that was hidden behind the tree out. That was a big and muscular wolf. However, Yi Qingtang had a face of shock when she saw that wolf. The wolf that Qin Huan was leading was an adult wolf without doubt, but the wolf's fur was ash white and not silver. Where's my wolf? Yi Qingtang glared at Qin Huan furiously. Qin Huan was really on the verge of crying but could only muster his courage and reply. Your wolf? Isn't this your wolf? My wolf is silver-colored, Yi Qingtang said coldly. The corner of Qin Huan's lips twitched as he feigned a firm front. Yeah, it's silver-colored. Do you think I'm blind? Yi Qingtang pointed to the fierce gray wolf that Qin Huan was pulling. Qin Huan hurriedly waved his hands. No. Listen to me, this is indeed your wolf. I just thought that its fur was not pretty previously and too loud, so I gave it a dye. Look, isn't this color way more low-key? Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes and drew out her sword in a swift motion. The sword glimmered, and Qin Huan immediately ducked. Junior sister Yi, listen to me. It really is your wolf. Touch it if you don't believe me. Then, Qin Huan even pulled the gray wolf to stand in front of Yi Qingtang. The gray wolf flashed its teeth at Yi Qingtang. Qin Huan could only look at Yi Qingtang. Qin Huan held back his tears and claimed, This may be because you left for too long, and it doesn't remember you anymore. It will remember you if you continue to raise it for a few more days. Before Qin Huan finished his sentence, Yi Qingtang already charged towards him with a sword in her hands. A chill went down his spine. Hurriedly pulling the gray wolf, he ran away madly. Junior sister Yi, calm down a little. Don't slash my face. In the outer sect of Xianling sect, Qin Huan was sprinting like a madman while dragging along a gray wolf that was almost dying from the tight string, and behind him was an armed Yi Qingtang who was chasing right after. Chapter 246. Gu Yanqiu rubbed his temples and seemed troubled. Looking at Qin Huan, who was standing before him after being beaten up to a pulp, his frown deepened. Junior sister Yi, the situation is like this. When Qin Huan went to your room that day, the silver wolf had already disappeared. To help Qin Huan clear his awful mess, Gu Yanqiu patiently explained the weird disappearance of the silver wolf right after Yi Qingtang departed for the mission. That day, Qin Huan could not find the silver wolf and dragged Gu Yanqiu to search for it in the outer sect for days. He even almost searched under the blankets of the outer sect elders. However, the silver wolf was still nowhere to be found, and thus, in desperation, Qin Huan could only think of such a shockingly dumb idea. Qin Huan nodded his head furiously. That's right. It ran away itself. Shanier brother Gu and I searched for a very long time. Shut up. Gu Yanqiu glared at Qin Huan, who could not even speak properly. Qin Huan pouted and kept quiet obediently. Yi Qingtang had a complicated expression on her face as she stared at the gray wolf, which was laying sideways on the floor, kicking the air continuously, with froth at its mouth after being pulled by the neck for a long distance. So that's why senior brother Qin found this gray wolf to compensate me? Qin Huan hurriedly nodded and was about to say something, but Yi Qingtang darted him a cold look. Speak human language. Qin Huan ducked instinctively and tried his best to speak clearly. This gray wolf is pretty good. I searched for a long time. That silver wolf of yours is too fat. This size of this one is definitely the standard. It's even fierce and domineering. Yi Qingtang looked at the gray wolf, whose eyes were rolled back and was still kicking the air. Cold sweat trickled down Qin Huan's face continuously. He hastily lifted the gray wolf's head up and cleaned up the froth at its mouth, trying his best to make the gray wolf appear a little more mighty. Yi Qingtang suddenly felt very pitiful for the gray wolf. We will continue to help you search for the silver wolf. How about you take this wolf back first? Gu Yanqiu suggested. Yi Qingtang was opposed to it internally, but seeing how the gray wolf was tortured to that state by Qin Huan, its days may be numbered in Qin Huan's hands. You too will help me to search for the silver wolf? Yi Qingtang asked. Qin Huan nodded furiously. Yi Qingtang hesitated for a while but finally nodded. Immediately, Qin Huan handed the leash on the gray wolf into Yi Qingtang's hands. Her lips twitched when she saw the leash used for dogs. Qin Huan looked at her especially obediently. Yi Qingtang felt a little headache. She still needed to submit her mission and did not intend to continue wasting time with Qin Huan. Thus, she simply waited for the gray wolf to recover a little and walked it back to her dorm. The gray wolf walked at a slow pace with Yi Qingtang. Perhaps it was because of the trauma from Qin Huan's torture or that the image of Yi Qingtang chasing after Qin Huan's life was too impactful. The gray wolf walked beside Yi Qingtang in extreme obedience then. It must be said that although this gray wolf was found by Qin Huan to be a counterfeit, judging by its appearance, it was also considered to be a supreme grade amongst the wolves. Yi Qingtang reached the door of her dorm. She glanced at the gray wolf and could not help but sigh as the image of the silver wolf could not be forgotten no matter how. Why did it disappear so suddenly? Yi Qingtang opened the door to her room gloomily with the gray wolf right beside her leg. As Yi Qingtang looked up, a silver figure suddenly appeared in her vision. That domineering silver wolf was standing by Yi Qingtang's bed silently just as it was when she left. Chapter 247. The domineering silver wolf was standing by Yi Qingtang's bed silently just as it was when she left. Happiness filled her instantly when she saw the familiar figure. Who said her silver wolf was missing? Was it not still here? How dare Qin Huan, that fellow, lie to her? Yi Qingtang's mood changed drastically. A smile bloomed on her face the moment she saw the silver wolf, and she walked towards that silver wolf immediately. However, Yi Qingtang only took a step forward but was suddenly pulled back by a certain force. She turned around and saw that the gray wolf, which was originally following beside her, sprawled on the floor in shivers. Its bright, piercing eyes were, however, full of fear and terror at that instant, and it was unwilling to move further in. Yi Qingtang was slightly taken aback. Out of a sudden, she felt a pair of deathly cold eyes on her. She looked in the direction of the source of that feeling and saw. The silver wolf, which had always been aloof, was staring at her, and the stupefied gray wolf beside her with a frighteningly cold expression. That expression somehow gave her a feeling that she was being caught in the act of having an affair. When the silver wolf glanced at the leash in Yi Qingtang's hand, she instinctively threw the leash away to prove her innocence. "Baby, I have nothing to do with this gray creature." As for that gray wolf, it was already trembling in fear under the silver wolf's stare and almost passed out there and then. At last, the gray wolf fell on the ground as though he was being crushed by a boulder. Unable to bear that suffocatingly overbearing force, it crawled up and dashed out of the room with a wail without looking back. Yi Qingtang looked strangely at the back view of the gray wolf that ran away at top speed. What happened? Yi Qingtang could not be bothered with the gray wolf that suddenly escaped and quickly walked towards the silver wolf, which she regained. However, she did not know whether it was her illusion, but when she was about to take a step closer, she felt an odd coldness in the air. Under the silver wolf's gaze, guilt filled her without reason. She swallowed her saliva and cracked a smile as she tried to get near the wolf while explaining, "The gray wolf is not mine. Senior brother Qin forcefully passed it to me. It has nothing to do with me." The silver wolf glanced at Yi Qingtang and did not react. Yi Qingtang broke down internally. It was indeed angry. At that very instant, Yi Qingtang really wanted to drag Qin Huan, that idiot, over and give him a beating again. Not only did he lie that her silver wolf was missing, he even stuffed a gray wolf to her. It was great now. The silver wolf saw her bring another wolf back. Was he stirring things up? God knows that Yi Qingtang was finally able to be more intimate with the previously aloof silver wolf after much effort, but now, everything returned to square one because of that gray wolf that jumped in. Outside Xianling's sect, Mu Su looked in despair at the sect above the clouds. He felt extremely complicated. He originally thought that everything would be fine once His Highness returned. However, "Your Highness, why did you go back? Are you addicted to becoming a wolf?" Mu Su wiped his tears away. Initially, he still thought that His Highness would never be able to get the girl and get his heart back with his level of emotional intelligence. Yet, never had he expected that the twists and turns of life would allow His Highness to gain a blessing out of adversity. His Highness could actually turn into a cute animal, and that's simply his natural gift in picking up girls, isn't it? Chapter 248. After settling down the Silver Wolf, Yi Qingtang went to submit her mission. At this time, most of the disciples in the same batch as Yi Qingtang had not returned. When the warden saw Yi Qingtang, he could not help but find it a little strange. "Warden, I'm here to submit the mission," Yi Qingtang said to the warden. The warden swept a look across Yi Qingtang with a hint of confusion in his eyes. "Why are you the one submitting the mission? Where's Zhou Xian?" The warden said impatiently. Yi Qingtang looked at the annoyed face of the warden and lowered her eyes. "Senior brother Zhou is already dead." "What?" The warden's expression changed. Yi Qingtang saw the drastic change in the warden's expression and laughed internally. When she left Spirit Condensation Mountain Village, Zhou Xian was indeed still alive, but now, he would probably be dead already. What exactly happened? The warden had an ugly expression on his face. If there were no accidents in sect missions, disciples only needed to submit their mission to the warden, but if there were casualties, the warden had to report it to the outer sect elders. At that very instant, the warden's mood was terrible. It should be known that he transferred Yi Qingtang, a new disciple, into Zhou Xian's team as an exception after accepting many benefits from Zhou Xian the other time. However, reassigning sect missions in secret was not allowed in the sect. New disciples like Yi Qingtang, especially, would definitely not be appointed to take on overly dangerous missions for old disciples. Previously, the warden was aware that Zhou Xian intended to use this chance to teach Yi Qingtang a lesson and thus did not think too much about it, though everything would be different once the outer sect elders hear of this. Looking at the warden's slightly pale face, Yi Qingtang obviously knew what he was worried about, but she did not show it and only told him everything that happened in Spirit Condensation Mountain Village in full detail, while excluding Han Kangming's appearance and the fact that Zhou Xian was not yet dead at that time on purpose. The more the warden listened, the more shocked he was. Things were utterly beyond his expectation. He originally thought that nothing would happen in an investigation in Spirit Condensation Mountain Village. Hence, he dared to abuse his power and make an exception for Zhou Xian. Yet, unexpectedly, noted, "I will inform the outer sect elders about this." The warden was extremely frustrated as the matter concerned the deaths of 3 disciples and was related to the resurrection of the Blood Moon sect. There was no way he could hide this even if he wanted to. Yi Qingtang nodded obediently and took her leave, while the warden could only muster his courage and inform the elder of the outer sect sword faction. Before Yi Qingtang could even enter her room, a senior brother summoned for her and said that the outer sect elder asked for her to head over. Yi Qingtang immediately went with that senior brother. In just a while, Yi Qingtang was brought to all elders of the outer sect. In the hall were the 4 elders from the outer sect's sword faction, Fist faction, Array faction, and Herbal faction had arrived, while the warden who relayed the message was present as well. Along with Yi Qingtang's appearance, the 4 outer sect elders' eyes were immediately gathered on that tiny figure. Elder Huang from the outer sect's sword faction looked up at Yi Qingtang, who entered the hall. A tight frown was seen on his face as he cast a sharp look at Yi Qingtang. He had seen Yi Qingtang when he was leading the new disciples into the sect previously, but he did not pay much attention to her because her spirit root was too inferior,